What a difference a year makes. This place looks the same, but it sure feels different. Wow, this place is spooky. No cores in the tunnel, nobody out on the field performing. It's just not right this week. I swear, if you listen closely enough, you can still hear echoes of 2019 in here. I think I'm hearing and seeing things. Is that the Blue Devil's ghost light? It can't be. They would have taken that back to California, right?
You know the legend of the stage, Steve. The ghost light stays lit until the next performance.
Dan, where did you come from?
Oh, I've been around.
You know, as spooky as this place is, I swear it misses us as much as we miss being here.
Indeed it does.
Guess we better go set the stage for 2021, eh?
Let's go march on.
March on. Hey, will that light stay lit till we come back in 2021?
You know the legend.
Seven, eight. We're good? All right, we're going. We're here, we're live. This is live, so you go with it, right? You know, normally I'd be in the press box at Lucas Oil Stadium. We'd be getting all excited. We'd have the reliable rondo predictions and all that fun stuff. And here we are in the DCI office on finals day. You know, nothing seems quite right. Life is out of rhythm. We're out of rhythm. We're missing the sights and sounds of that thing we love so much, drum and bugle corps. The phenomenal performances, the goosebumps. We're missing all of our friends who've become a unique sort of family. I don't like this feeling at all. I don't think you do either. So our goal here tonight is to try to lay the groundwork to make sure we can get into 2021 and get our beloved drum corps season back on the road. The March On Telethon. Tonight we're going to update you on a lot of what's been going on behind the scenes, as well as try to raise some money to ensure that we can get back on the road and on the field in 2021. It is finals night. We're big on tradition and heritage here in the drum corps activity, so we're going to begin this night like we'd begin the finals, with the national anthem, courtesy of the United States Marine Drum and Bugle Corps.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing or rise if you are able for the playing of our national anthem.
From its modest beginnings half a century ago, Drum Corps International has developed into a powerful global youth activity with far-reaching artistic, educational, and organizational influence. Through its nationwide summer tour and annual World Championships, Drum Corps International provides entertainment to millions through spectacular stadium performances, live-streamed events, high-definition digital cinema experiences, and worldwide social media exposure. Drum Corps International is marching music's major league. More than 12,000 student performers audition each year for a position in a DCI ensemble. There is a highly loyal, connected past participant base of more than 150,000. The 10-week DCI Summer Tour touches nearly 40 states each year, drawing some 400,000 spectators to more than 100 competitive events. Combine this level of exposure with decades of unparalleled event production excellence, and the letters DCI are synonymous with success. DCI's innovative sound sport program provides unique performance opportunities for instrumental music ensembles of all types and all ages in dynamic performance settings around the world. Another exciting DCI brand extension is the wildly popular Drumline Battle program, which showcases marching percussion ensembles in high-energy, face-to-face, and virtual online competitions. DCI's continuously expanding portfolio of innovative program offerings and educational initiatives creates tremendous opportunities to address very focused and enthusiastically engaged target audiences in a variety of formats and platforms. Worldwide, Drum Corps International influences scholastic, collegiate, and independent marching bands, as well as dance and drill teams and competitive color guards. To each of these thousands of groups around the globe, the corps of Drum Corps International represent the pinnacle of achievement. Drum Corps International is the standard of excellence in the marching arts. So whether you support DCI as a valuable youth activity, an incomparable educational opportunity, or just great entertainment, Drum Corps International is marching music's major league.
Good evening and welcome, Drum Corps fans. I'm Kathy Black, Chair of the Drum Corps International Board of Directors, and on behalf of the entire board, I want to welcome you to this evening's events and thank you for all the love and support that we've experienced over the months since we had to cancel the 2020 tour. Not only have you supported the Drum Corps, but you've also extended support to Drum Corps International itself, that's created the stage for our activity for decades, and we are deeply grateful for that support. We've had the opportunity over the summer to watch the Drum Corps working very hard to figure out how to bring back our activity, how to do it safely, and how to make sure that the performers of the future can benefit from the activity that we love and that we all benefited from. So with that, one of the things we know for sure is that those drum corps and those performers of the future will need a stage to perform on, just like we did. And Drum Corps International will be there to create that stage, but only with your help and your continued support. So that's why we're all here this evening. I hope you very much enjoyed the show. There's a lot of exciting programming and of course a few surprises along the way. So we hope you sit back and relax and enjoy it. And most importantly, dig deep, give where you can, support Drum Corps, support Drum Corps International, support the activity, and ensure that the performers of the future will have that incredible stage to show off their art and all of their hard work. So thank you for all of your support, and please help us ensure the future. And most importantly, march on.
And thank you, Ms. Black. We shall march on, march right on into the evening with your help here. Let me explain how this works. You know, the number 2020, that is going to go down in our history as a bad number. So we're looking to make it a good number with 2020 contributors by the time this effort is done. What do you get for your money? Well, number one, you get the good feeling of helping us march on, but let's take a look at it from a more quantitative aspect. If you are a $30 donor, you are classified as a tour contributor. You get an official digital thank you from the DCI team. $50 prelims contributor, that thank you plus 2 commemorative DCI 2020 tour tickets, collector's items to be sure. A $100 semifinals contributor, you add a limited edition March On t-shirt to that package. At $250, you're a finals contributor. You have the DCI Orange Squishy Cone for your desk and a 2019 World Championship CD set. At $500, we add a 2019 World Championship Blu-ray set. And at $1,000, you are a Founders Trophy contributor. You get all of the above, plus you get to participate in a special post-telethon VIP Q&A session with DCI leadership. That would be Dan Atchison, Kathy Black, whom you just heard from, and Stuart Pompel, the member chair and the director of Pacific Crest. So give now, and then you can sit back and enjoy the rest of this thing guilt-free. We'll be updating tallies as we move through the evening and let you know how we're doing. And it's all us. It's all us trying to ensure a 2021 season. Dan Potter's going to be along for the ride with us tonight. Dan's been doing a lot of prep work, putting together interviews that really tell some interesting stories about some of our favorite shows. Mr. Potter, good to see you.
Rondo, how you doing, man? Good to talk to you. This has been one, as you've already noted, strange, lonely summer, and I am so thankful that you and I have gotten a chance to work on this, because I would have really been stir crazy if we didn't have these projects to do.
Yeah, this has been a good exercise at the very least.
Yeah, indeed it has. Well, while we're uncertain about what's ahead of us, we can certainly look back at what Drum Corps International has accomplished since 1972. And that's what this Run It Back series that I've been working on is all about. What we have done is, so far we've done 4 of these shows, and you'll see about 10-minute segments of these very long sessions that we've done that are reunions of Drum Corps staffs, designers, instructors, even a few members from some of the most fan favorite iconic shows of the past. We go all the way back to 1991 Star of Indiana. We're going to talk to the staff and designers of the 2008 Phantom Regiment Spartacus show, 2013 Carolina Crown, of course, E equals MC squared, and 2016 Blue Coats. We'll get samples of all of those Run It Back sessions tonight. And I've had other interviews as well. We've talked with composer Robert W. Smith about this amazing Together as One project that's been put together by Varsity with the help of Drum Corps International and some of its top talent, distributed free to marching bands all over this country. It's a huge project, and Drum Corps International is baked into this project, so to speak, and we'll hear all about that and DCI's involvement in it. But really, Steve, it started yesterday, this virtual season of ours, with the Drum Corps International Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Congratulations to Robbie Robinson of the Crossmen, Sal Salas, and Tony DiCarlo, all now in the Hall of Fame. And if you missed that induction ceremony, you can still catch it. It's on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/DCI. So we've got a lot of great, pop some popcorn, settle in. We got a lot of great stuff to show you tonight.
Yeah, this was a great year for me to launch as chairman of the Hall of Fame. But thanks to some good folks here, we were able to put together a show and get our 3 new members inducted in fine form. But you know, speaking of old timers, for as long as I've been at this, one particular fella's been at my side for a good chunk of that, and that would be the venerable Dennis DeLucia. Wouldn't be finals night without Dennis, now would it, guys? Dennis!
Stevie!
Good to hear that velvet voice.
Hey, Dennis, how are you? Look at that Bridgman jacket in the back.
What do you think, huh?
All right, we got you here.
This is my studio.
Tell us an old guy's story about how that yellow jacket came to be.
The Bridgman coat. Well, at the end of the 75 season, Bobby Hoffman had been teaching the Blue Stars, and I had just left the Hawthorne Muchachos, and he came home to New Jersey and wanted to teach locally. He's a Jersey guy. For those of you who might not remember what Bobby looks like, this is my favorite picture of Bobby from the good old days, the big hair days. So he said, I'm going to teach the St. Andrews Bridgemen, and I want you to do the drum line. So we met for lunch, and he said to me, I have this vision to have the whole corps in long, knee-length black coats and high black boots, but I can't figure out what to put on the head, for a hat. Nothing makes sense to me except a Russian Cossack, a fuzzy Russian Cossack hat. And I said to him, well, what music do you think we could play in the second and third year? Because at that point, corps didn't get new uniforms every year. So he said, okay, I get it. He said, but what are we going to put on top? We need a hat. So I knew a hat manufacturer in Jersey. We went to visit them. We're touring the factory with the owner, come upon a woman who's blocking cowboy hats. Bobby says to the owner, before she blocks the sides up, could she leave the sides down and pull the front and back of the brim down? The owner says, sure. She makes a sample right then and there, holds it up, and Bobby and I become two kids in a candy factory. We're jumping up and down because we knew we had found it. The next version was every element of the corps he wanted in a different pastel. So the sopranos would be in one color, the mid-range would be in a different color, the low brass in a third color, the percussion in a fourth color, the color guard in black. So he has those samples made, brings them to a rehearsal in January in garment bags, picks out 4 kids in the corps who would fit into the samples, tells them to go get lost in a side room with a staff member. Don't come out until I tell you. So at the end of the rehearsal, Bobby's hyping the corps up at the corps meeting, and he's telling them he's building this thing up. And he says, okay, come on out. The first one out is a boy wearing a knee-length pink coat.
That ain't going to play in Jersey.
Oh, this is Jersey, man. This is Bayonne, Jersey City, New Jersey, with some Brooklyn thrown in. And I'm looking at the faces of the kids in the corps, and they're reading their lips, and they're going, I ain't wearing that. So they finish the meeting, and the leadership of the corps comes up to the two of us and says, can we talk to you? Sure. What's up? We have one request. Please don't take our corps colors away from us, because the St. Andrews era colors were black, white, and yellow. Mm-hmm. So Bobby, in his infinite wisdom, says, oh, you're right. I get it. So that's how that uniform ended up being a long coat, yellow with black and white trim.
The Bayonne bananas.
The real story. Yeah.
Just quickly, Dennis, is it legend or is it true that if you were a member of the Bridgemen, Bobby Hoffman taught you to smile before he taught you to do anything else?
That's probably true. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was.
I've always heard it that way, that before you learned anything else in the Bridgemen, you learned how to smile.
Well, you certainly learned how to project.
All right, Dennis, you have not missed a finals ever since we started doing this in '72.
That's right.
It's got to feel really weird not being here and being in it.
It's weird not seeing any drum corps, especially after so many great years. And for me personally, it's a great loss to not be with you guys and not be with the television crew that Tom Blair puts together, because it's become a wonderful family that we only really get to see all in one place once a year. So I miss that.
Yeah. And the performances, and just walking around downtown Indy last night and being in that stadium with Ghost Dan, that was surreal.
It must have been very strange for you guys.
All right. Well, we hope you can stay up late tonight to watch this thing all the way through.
Well, I know this started at 5 so that I could stay awake, so I appreciate that, guys.
We did that. We scheduled this early
You're the
thing
best.
for you.
You're the best.
All right. Anything for you. Good to see you, buddy.
Be well, guys. Good to see you.
All right. The illustrious Dennis DeLucia. Mr. Potter's got all kinds of things planned for us tonight. You have done so much work as we got ready for this. What's ahead?
You know, you call it work. It really hasn't been. It's been, grateful reunions with a lot of friends, and we're calling it the Run It Back series. I don't know about the two of you, but when I'm using one of Tom's fantastically produced Blu-rays to introduce somebody to drum corps for the very first time, I'm very selective about the shows that I pick out. And my go-to most of the time, this is for somebody who's never seen drum corps before, is 2008 Phantom Regiment Spartacus, because it's a show that has a lot of general effect, as you know, great music, and it's a show in which the audience very much played a part in propelling our champion to victory. So let's run it back this time. 2008, Phantom Regiment and Spartacus. Let's run it back. This is going to be fun because it really is. For me, this is the show that if I have somebody who, quote unquote, is a drum corps virgin, I am going to show them 2008 Spartacus first. Granted, it's a show that's 12 years old, but it's linear. It tells a very easy to read story. It is packed with general effect, and it leads to, okay, now that you've seen Spartacus 2008, you want to watch something else, and inevitably the person will say, yeah, what else you got? Do you hear that a lot, Rick?
Definitely. It's a show that has not lost any of its charm or its passion or the lore about it at all. No matter where you go, different continents, doesn't matter. It's a show that's talked about a whole heck of a lot.
Dan, was there concern about, pulling something from the past and redoing it in 2008? Whose idea was it?
Well, there was a lot of concern, and the idea had come up several years before we finally decided to go ahead and do it in 2008. And it was really when some of the people on the design team, such as JD, said, I don't envision us doing this with a lot of the Spartacus ballet music, but instead, let's pick our own soundtrack. And that clicked something in my head that made it take on an entirely different character that we could use to separate it from the 81 and 82 show.
We were actually talking about another story. We were talking about Samson Delilah. We kept referencing all sorts of different things like 300 and Gladiator. So we were kind of in a genre, and so we thought, well, and then I think somebody, I don't even remember if it was Tony or Dan, finally came around and said, guys, we're talking about Spartacus. Let's just do Spartacus. But it was still the idea that we would want to not do some of the same music and tell more of the story, so that we would use music that really helped that narrative through time. But while still sprinkling in just a couple things that were iconic from the 81, 82 shows, so that there was a little bit of that aha moment from some of our alumni and fans of those shows back then.
Can we dig into the pre-show for just a second? Dan Farrell, I can't recall from 2008, did that grow the whole season, the pre-show, or was it put in finals week? Take us back.
We had always discussed doing it, and we knew that we would get to it eventually. We concentrated on the show itself first, and then we added elements of it as we went through the season. But it was probably not until, my guess is Allentown, when we had the entire pre-show in there.
The parts of the pre-show that Tom Blair captured for the broadcast and the DVD, and I call them vignettes of cruelty that were going on all over the field. And I'm wondering if any of you might want to point out some of the little vignettes that were going on that maybe didn't make the DVD that you would draw our attention to.
There were others. It's hard to remember what some of them were much later, but I think the whole point of the reason for that cruelty to begin with was we had to establish why you cared about Spartacus or that particular slave movement in the first place. And in the beginning of the season, there was like, okay, this is Spartacus, but why do we really care about some of these subsequent deaths of certain people? And so I think the storyline was really set up in that moment.
We gave direction to the members, and then they took it upon themselves to make this something special. They created those characters, and I think that the audience, they fed off of the audience responding to it, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it became something all by itself that was a show.
There were some really great opportunities for the percussion section in general. There was a couple of, one in particular was like a fight scene, and I think the image was the first thing that came, and that was when the shields sort of came up and created a wall.
I remember we watched several different movies and would pick out scenes and say, okay, let's do that here. In this number, we could put this here. And it was pretty interesting how that all developed.
Yeah, Will, you are the only DCI drum major that I know of, maybe the only one ever, who will have ridden into a stadium on your podium.
And of course, the first show we did that was in Denver, riding in. And so it's on grass, which was not as smooth as turf. And the process of like getting trying to slightly bend my knees to where I would not fall over in front of all these people. And the first day we put this in was pretty terrifying.
From Will riding in on the podium to the spear to, when was that put in? When did you first get speared?
Allentown, right?
Yeah. Well, the best part of that story is that people always ask me when I found out that it was happening. And J.E. taught me in waves it was happening. And it was by Murfreesboro warm-up being the first one. We finished, the brass warm-up, getting ready to leave, and I'm like putting on my helmet, getting ready to get in character, and JD goes, "Enjoy conducting the end of the show for the last time," and then walks away. And what are you talking about? Jeez. And the next day, and and of course I keep trying to ask him about it, and I'm just mad thinking they're just going to switch me and Koji for no reason. I have no idea why it's happening.
The story of how that particular scene got put in the show. Tony and I we were in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and Tony and I, we were out on a band field, and Tony and I are on this tower, just kind of, like the two old guys on the Muppets up in the balcony. We're just up heckling rehearsal and joking with each other. And what was taking place was actually we had changed a major horn facing, which took away one of Koji's the assistant conductor, one of his main conducting moments from the back sideline. And I think I turned to Tony and said, poor Koji, this was kind of his big moment. And he's losing this one, and it's a shame. And one of us said, he should just kill Will. And we both just stared at each other. And then Tony was like, no, we have to do that. We have to figure that out, because we knew that part of the show was missing something, and that's why we were changing the facing anyway, and we were trying to get more drama out of that moment. But there were so many things story-wise that got connected when we figured out that missing piece of the puzzle. And so we talked about it for a few days with, the design team, and, tell me why this is a bad idea. Stop us from doing this. Well, this is probably bad. Why should we not do this? And everybody we talked to said, oh no, this is good. This makes a lot of sense. And so it was fun.
Well, Dan, you're leaving out the fact that we laughed about it so hard in front of the corps that we had to turn our backs to the corps so that they didn't see us, just laughing hysterically about, and then he could do this and he could step on Will, and we're just laughing about it. Right. And it turned out to be something simply splendid.
I remember watching Allentown and seeing that for the first time, and I have goosebumps right now just remembering that. And even to this day, we just watched the show the other day with our kids, and I mean, I cry every time I see it, and I know what's going to happen. I know how it ends, and I just can't. It's just that powerful.
Probably my favorite memory of all time is Allentown that year. Wow. Because we had spent so much time on that show, but that moment and the sequence of events that led up to it, you know, a true crescendo, I think. And when it finally was there on the field and we saw the audience react to it, I think that was better than winning DCI, to tell you the truth, because at that point I knew we had actually pulled off what we were trying to do. And to see those people react the way they did, there's nothing better than that.
Hello, my name is Carlos Alicia. I'm from Puerto Rico, and Drum Corps taught me to be the person who I am today, to be inspiration and a example to follow for future generations in the Latino community. And when it's never too late to keep growing, to keep learning, to reach your goals.
Drum Corps taught me how to be a strong and effective servant leader, and I plan to pass on what I've learned to the leaders of the future.
Taught me how to live independently and push through mental roadblocks with the help of music.
Troopers and Battle Hymn go together like peanut butter and jelly. Dan Atchison, I would have to say. Dan, CEO of DCI, joining us now to, well, we promised you, we talk about a lot of what happened behind the scenes here, and you know, having been involved in some of the planning for the telecast and everything, we're going along through the off season, the annual meeting in January, great. Everybody's upbeat, they're primed for the season. March comes and we skid to a halt.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, it was obviously quite shocking, right, for everybody involved. We had all the numbers that were coming in, the preseason numbers and so forth, as far as ticket sales and people excited about being at events were as high as we've ever seen them. We were poised for some kind of a season from an attendance standpoint. And when the reality set in, we had to make the announcement we did, poof. You know, 100 miles an hour down to 5 miles an hour, just like that. And we did that 5 mile an hour thing to preserve what we have until we could figure out, well, how do we get to tomorrow? How do we get to the next day, and so forth.
And when you say we, this is the DCI Board of Directors, it's the member corps, it's everybody pulling together trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Drum Corps International, the collective that it is. We have, in all 48 years, many times have had to come together in a very profound way, and there is no stronger group than there is today as a result of that. The directors have been caring for each other, cooperating with each other, talking to each other on a regular basis, and then having meetings once a week to discuss the what's next, because as we all know, tomorrow is different than what today is, and it's new news, and it's, well, okay, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. And how do we set ourselves up that way? But so many of them have come up with some great ideas, and all, of course, with the safety of the performers in mind, first and foremost. How can we get back? Those types of things.
So you have to plan, but this is like playing whack-a-mole because everything changes almost every day. How can you plan and look toward 2021 with such a rapidly changing landscape?
Well, first of all, we have to, we know that the performers are the center of our universe, right? And we try to look back from that and go, wow, look at who, embraces the performers, who works for the performers, who works around the performers, and all of those great people, the teachers that from corps that have been furloughed, that are still working with the corps performers. They're trying to plan, they're trying to keep engagement going on. So before we even get to 2021, we're thinking about 2020 and how do we make the best out of this god-awful situation. And all the while, of course, concerned about, well, where's the money going to come from? No events, no sales, no income. It just disrupts everything. Right?
No T-shirts, no concessions, no program books.
All those are lost. And how do we get beyond those things? And of course, we've had an amazing DCI staff. Unfortunately, many were let go, and those that remained took a reduced salary. But those that were let go, many of them came back and volunteered. Some of them are here right now volunteering their time because they believe that much in what we do in the mission of Drum Corps International. And not only that, but the corps stopped their operation. Everybody stopped in their tracks. And we're trying to figure out how do we move on from there? How do we make at least a little bit of income as 2020 goes along through merchandise and through our great partners, Flow Marching, who we'll see a little bit of a programming with them a little bit later on, and the Pepware helping us sell the merchandise, the tour T-shirt, the non-tour T-shirt as we refer to it. So every little bit we've been trying to piece together to keep that going, because the infrastructure behind the corps is the stage. And that's what Drum Corps International creates, is the stage. And right alongside the excellence and the hard work that the performers put on, well, we believe that they're worthy of the best stage we can possibly provide for them. So that's what we try to do.
Along with that stage, you've got the judges, you've got so much in the way of logistics, the stadiums, the costs keep escalating every year, and you're looking down that barrel.
Yeah, we're looking down that barrel, and of course many have advised, and of course we're well aware that core housing, we depend on schools to stay in schools when we tour. And that's going to be a challenge because there's a lot of schools that aren't sure they're going to open their doors to outside entities going forward, depending upon how this all takes shape going forward.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even sure they're opening doors to their own students this year, some of them.
Exactly. But we have had the great opportunity to have so many people embrace our current circumstances. The sponsors have been amazing, again, standing side by side with us, helping us get through this season. We're doing our best to give them a platform still through social media and et cetera. But nonetheless, they've stepped up considerably, and we're so grateful to many of them for that. And it's so heartwarming to see the uniform companies that are sponsors making masks and doing their part to step in, and knowing that we're partners with people like that.
The other thing that struck me was the fans saying, "Here, just keep my ticket money, keep my Friends of DCI dues."
That is exactly what happened. And we asked early on to consider donation. Of course, refunds were available and deferring to next year. Most chose to defer to next year, but over $240,000 worth of donations, ticket donations. And I can tell you, some of those people have given even more through this telethon. And for that, we're incredibly grateful.
Yeah, we'll get to some numbers in just a little bit. The other thing that strikes me, having been around as long as I have, is DCI had so many new initiatives and programs going on. I'm partial to Sound Sport, having emceed that here in Indy for the last however many years. Such a great incubator and breeding ground for performing units and a whole new outlet. Those things were all happening and going in a great way.
Yeah, again, going at 100 miles an hour, so exciting, getting prepared for the season, having Sound Sport teams participate at the highest levels, international groups coming together. But see, Sound Sport is one of those entities that we have that is a lower barrier to entry. They're not having to tour, they're not having to have elaborate productions and so forth in order to participate at the level that the world class and the open class corps do. So as a result, it's a little easier for them to come and go and participate. So we want to support that, more grassroots. That was founded in 2013 and it continues to grow, but even more so worldwide. Many of our global partners, some of which have also donated from Japan, thank you so much, to the telethon. They appreciate what Drum Corps International and what Sound Sport brings to the world society.
Well, we had 9 units set to come here this year.
We had 9 units from all over the world planning on attending here. It would have been quite an exciting day on the plaza today. Yes, indeed. And the other aspect of that is we had the Impact Band. 500 students, middle school students, really fired up about being a part of a Impact Band 2-day program. Indiana band directors. We talk about frontline heroes, and we can border on maybe we use that a little bit too much, but I'm sorry, I got to use it in this context. Band directors, following them on social media, seeing what they're bringing to the table right now, trying to make the best out of a worse situation. And we have school administrators and school boards that have long been questioning the value of music and music education. Well, I say question no more. It couldn't be more important today than any other day that they have and make sure that every child has access to music education. Those teachers, many of which come out of our ranks. 50% of our participants aspire to be a music educator.
Wow.
Imagine what that means with today's participants 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and how that transfers into the biggest of numbers.
That's a lot of touches.
That's a lot of touches. So I applaud all of our partners or strategic partners like the National Association for Music Education, National Federation of High School Bands, or I'm sorry, I said bands, but I meant associations, and they have a performing arts branch, if you will, that's doing great work. Percussive Arts Society, Music for All, NAM, WGI. They're all pushing forward. And then we're going to see later in the program from a program that Varsity Performing Arts supports, which is just great stuff.
And we're innovating. A little bit later on, folks, you're going to see the individual and ensemble highlights. Normally we do that here Championship Week, but we did it online.
Yeah, we did it virtually, and some of the performances are just fantastic, and you're going to enjoy them. It's great to keep the performers engaged, much like they have been with their respective corps. And, we got to keep finding a way to raise the funds that we need to raise. So please give. Please help us create an awesome stage for these great performers. That's the center of our universe, those performers.
All right, let's get down to the tough as nails question, I guess. How do you go about trying to plan for 2021? What is the plan? Can there be a plan?
Right. Well, that's the thing. One of the most overused words right now, and I'm sure to be for the year, is scenario. How many scenarios are there? And we have a few of our own. We're having to react. The pandemic is in charge right now. As much as we are overachievers, us music people and dancers and so forth, we can't control this. But what we have to do is be patient with it as we put these things together. The directors, various committees, the board of directors of DCI, boards of directors of the corps, they're working very, very hard to try to come up with safe solutions to moving forward and making this available for 2021. It's so important for us to get there. And we'll have to figure out the timing of all this as well. This time of year, we're announcing that certain tickets are going on sale. Our awesome friends of DCI who give so much year in and year out, that they would have their packages available. We're just not quite there yet to be able to launch all that into 2021. We're close. We have some opportunities that I'm feeling pretty good about. And you'll hear from our health and wellness folks a little bit later. Yeah, of course, a vaccine is going to make all the difference in the world. It's going to make all the difference in the world. But regardless, we're going to continue to try to work through these scenarios and hopefully within the next couple of months be able to have our grand announcements of how we're going to make a 2021 very exciting and march on.
Yeah, you said something to me the other day that I've taken with me here, is that the Sunday after DCI Championship is New Year's Day for you.
That's right. Yeah, New Year's Day for DCI, actually.
Right.
And the day after finals. And the reason for that is whatever happened the previous season, it's done, it's over, it's time to move on. And that's what's so exciting is there's a lot of hope, a lot of promise, a lot of possibility, and we just have to grab onto that, start planning, start holding on, and try to make good things happen.
All right. Pleasure as always. I'll let you get back to the stadium. I know you like hanging out there.
That was a lot of fun.
That was fun. Yes, indeed. Dan talked about partnerships, and the varsity partnership has proven to be quite interesting this year. And Together as One is a project that Dan Potter's going to fill us in on.
The company Varsity, in association with lots of groups, including Drum Corps International, has put together something to help music educators all across this country during the pandemic and this strange fall season that we are headed into. Drum Corps International's top talent have taken part in this project called Together as One. And we're joined by the guy that's co-coordinating it all, Robert W. Smith, famed DCI composer. I associate you most, Robert, with Suncoast Sound and the Troopers. First of all, how's Susan? How are the girls? How's everybody doing?
Oh, they're absolutely wonderful as we could be in this pandemic situation, but everybody's doing well. Health is good.
This project, Together as One, was conceived to help, at least in the short term, the fall season for a lot of high school music programs unable to field a competitive show. Most of the competitive circuits are shut down. Tell us about Together as One. This is a free field show for the taking, right?
Absolutely. This was a project that came out of a conversation with four friends sitting around talking. And so with Tim Hill was an administrator at Disney. We know him. He was very integral when DCI was in Orlando in those championships. He was also a board member of the Magic of Orlando. Tim is retired from Disney. He now is one of the administrators at the Biltmore in the Carolinas. Wonderful, wonderful gentleman, caring person. Ben Schroeder of Varsity, David Starnes, and I. And we were having a conversation about the pandemic. And I said, you know, it started with a comment. My greatest fear, my greatest worry is that when this pandemic is over and our groups can get back on the field, and for example, football, if there's a football game and there's a halftime show that needs to be there, and we haven't had time to put this together, we are going to be in trouble. We have to be there with rigor and with relevance. We've got to be able to put a show together in a short amount of time. I contend that people of my generation, as I'm talking to you, Dan, I'm now 61 years old. I know what it is to put a show together in a short amount of time, to put it together in a week. But current and contemporary, that's not the norm. It takes a while to develop the very complex shows of modern day drum corps, modern day marching band. I said, we've got to be there again with rigor and relevance. And when they say there is a football game next week or the week after, the band has got to be there. The band has got to make a difference in that game. The moment we're not there, I contend we then become possibly dispensable. And that is going to impact us forever.
You put out the call for help, and the people that you got, let me just share a list that was sent to me by DCI of the people that have taken part in this. The wind arrangers are Jay Bocook, Michael Klesch, Richard Saucedo. These are drum corps heavyweights. Percussion arrangers, Tom Hannum, Ralph Hardiman, Mike McIntosh. The drill designed by none other than Michael Gaines. Color guard choreographer was Michael Rosales. And then we had also color guard choreography from Daniel Riley, Casey Thompson, Rick Subel. When you approach these people, did you approach them or did they approach you and say, hey, I want to be part of this?
This started again with that conversation with these between four gentlemen with shared vision. From there, David and I split it up, and I contacted all the musicians. And by the way, I want to add Paul Rennick's name to that list that you just.
Fantastic. As if you need more percussion heavyweights, put a Rennick on there, sure.
Absolutely. So I started calling all of the musicians, and David started calling all of the visual designers, and shared a vision with them and asked them to jump on board in a pro bono situation. And I do want to point out, this is totally a gift from all of these designers to our pageantry arts world. We spent several months putting all of this together, and nobody makes a dime off of this. This is a gift to the world of music education and our pageantry arts. And so with David making the calls on the visual side, me making the calls on the musical side, and we started putting ideas together. And as a result, we now have a multifaceted program called Together as One. It's not just one show. It could be implemented in different ways.
Well, and we're going to see one of the ways it has been implemented virtually, get a sample of Together as One later in this MarchOn Webathon. Robert W. Smith, what you and your colleagues have done is nothing short of an extraordinary gift to the world of pageantry. And it shows once again that Drum Corps International is marching music's major league and continues to lead the way even when times are just one big question mark. Thank you for taking action, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Dan, and best wishes to everybody out there. March on.
My name is Wesley Sullivan. I'm the Director of Legal Affairs at Flow Sports. I marched with Spartans 97 to 2000 and 02, and I aged out with cadets in 2003. DCI is important to me because I grew up with the activity. I started when I was 14. It taught me how to live life, my work ethic, attention to detail, and how to not have any free days.
My name is Michael Gilly. I am the Senior Partner Success Manager at Flow Sports for Flow Marching, and I marched at Pioneer Drum and Bugle Corps from 1999, 2000, 02, and 03. It feels amazing to be able to have an impact on the community that taught me so much about life, because I'm able to give back and hopefully be able to expand the horizons of what Drum Corps is able to reach by giving it a platform, by putting more viewers onto it, by having more people fall in love with the activity that I fell in love with.
Yeah, anytime I think that I can't do something, I remind myself of what I've achieved earlier in life, and it helps me remember that I'm capable of far more than I thought that I was.
As members of the Flow Marching team, we work with Drum Corps International and the Corps all year round. And like many of you, DCI World Championship Finals Day is one of our favorite days of the year. So join us in showing support for Drum Corps International and donate at dci.org/give.
If you like what you see tonight, there's plenty more on flowmarching.com, including our long-form interview series On the 50 with Dan Shack. We've also got technique series and plenty more documentaries. But to kick things off tonight, we wanted to start off with a piece that we're super proud of from the 2019 season, Encore, Hey Blue.
Remember this moment right here, that's all that counts.
I want you to know that I believe in you.
I believe in myself.
We show them why we're the best in the world and what we do.
We just finished our finals lot. It was electric. Warm-up was crazy. It's almost like warm-up is a show on its own. A lot of alumni here. My family came out. A lot of support. It's a dream come true. Even after my third year, it surprises me how much love there is in this activity, not just in this corps. Prelims is always a little weird because people are getting used to the venue, but semis was a huge step up, and the growth of the crowd every night is always a help because reciprocating that energy is very helpful in bringing the show to life. So tonight, I feel very confident that this corps will do its job and bring the show to life how it was meant to be. Couldn't be happier with the way that things are going right now.
The best show that we have ever had. We had probably the best show that the Bluecoats have ever had, and everyone is really proud to have been a part of this group. I think we just feel really unified and grateful to have had this opportunity. They were crazy. The crowd went wild. It literally felt like we were at a rock concert, which was really fun. I've never seen anything like it. I think the first night we were like pretty clean and we're like, okay, we're gonna do really well. And then the second night we had a lot of energy, semis, but I feel like tonight was like the perfect balance of both of them. We had that energy, we had a lot of clarity. That's really all you can ask for.
There's nothing quite like being in the tunnels of Lucas Oil Stadium with the Bluecoats during the DCI World Championships. Tonight, something all new is coming to Flow Marching. DCI Rewind the After Party. The after party will include 10 historic DCI performances from all the way back to '89 Phantom Regiment, all the way up to the 2019 Blue Devils. We'll also be ending the night with the 2001 and 2002 Cavaliers, two incredible performances that ended with championships for that organization. The after party will begin immediately following the end of the DCI MarchOn Telethon, so tune in tonight on flowmarching.com or any of the Flow Sports apps.
Hey DCI fans, family, and friends. Henry Go here from Innovative Percussion, where all of our products are crafted by performers for performers. Here at Innovative Percussion, we know we are all undergoing some unprecedented times, but we are sending all of our love and best wishes to DCI, the corps, and all the fans out there. DCI and everyone here at Innovative Percussion would like to ask for your help in keeping the future of the activity alive, to ensure that future generations of performers, staffs, fans have an experience of a lifetime. For more information on how you can get more involved, please visit www.dci.org/marchon. In the meantime, be safe, be well. We look forward to working together for the future.
Hi everyone, my name's Alan Thompson and I'm from Drum Corps United Kingdom. DCUK are proud partners with DCI, bringing sound sport and drumline battle across the Atlantic to the UK. For many years, individual marching members and full corps from the UK have travelled across to the USA to be part of the great DCI experience, as well as hundreds of supporters and spectators. It is obviously very disappointing that none of us have had that opportunity this summer, but we send out our best wishes to everyone at Drum Corps International and Drum Corps fans around the globe. As a result of this awful pandemic, 2020 has not been the best year for the marching and performing arts activity, but what it has shown is that we can all support each other wherever we are in the world to ensure that in years to come, others can get access to this exciting and life-changing activity. From all of us in the United Kingdom, please stay safe, march on, and bring on 2021.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the field, from Denver, Colorado, the Blue Knights! Performing their 2020 program, To Build a Home, Drum Corps International is proud to present the Blue Knights! Under the direction of Jordan Halwerda, from Denver, Colorado, the Blue Knights!
It's Keith Kelly from the Global Band Room and Finding Drum Corps podcast here. It's really hard to believe that we've had a whole season without Drum Corps this year. But if there's one thing that I've learned from speaking to fans, instructors, performers and judges, is that this activity attracts some of the most brilliant, creative, hardworking and passionate people from around the world. And it's because of that that I absolutely know that we're going to have amazing tours and shows and seasons ahead of us. So if you can, head over to dci.org/marchon and make a donation today, or to your favourite corps or sound sport team. And until we see each other again, march on.
Hey, this is Izzy, the Blue Devils B drum major, and Drum Corps has taught me the importance of using my voice as a woman of color in a leadership position.
Drum Corps taught me that a group of people with a unified goal is certainly a force to be reckoned with.
Drum Corps has taught me leadership, passion, and most of all, grit. March on.
One of the blessings for me, maybe for you during all of this craziness, is making new friends. Our routines have been shaken up. We've met new people, maybe on Zoom or on Teams, but we've met them virtually at least. And one of those people for me is Keith Kelly, who I've got to tell you, I'm a little bit jealous of. I'll tell you why in a second. Hi, Keith.
Hey, Dan. How are you? Good to see you.
Very good, man. I gotta say, I have so enjoyed. And at the same time, been a little bit jealous of your guest hosting of our DCI podcast, The Field Pass, this summer. You have done an 8-part series called Finding Drum Corps from your perspective as a native of Ireland, but as somebody who recently came to Drum Corps and now is, I think it's fair to say, you've fallen pretty deeply in love with this activity, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching it for about 5 years, those first couple of years from a distance, YouTube videos, whatever I could find. And the last number of years I've been able to make it over for finals. But yeah, I mean, it kind of has consumed my life the last couple of years, and sound sport and marching band activity here in Ireland has kind of consumed a lot of what I do here.
You're a jack of all trades in a lot of ways. You're a music educator, I know, but you also organize tour groups to come over to the U.S. for the DCI experience, as you call it. You run a website called Global Band Room, and now a podcaster. I'm really jealous at your skills, man. You've got box 5 interviewing skills. Are you just naturally curious, or have you done something like this in the past?
It's the nature of the type of podcast that it ended up becoming. This very heavily sort of edited narrative sort of podcast. For anyone that's maybe heard my other podcast, the Global Band Room, that's much more of I hit record and we talk for an hour, and you'll hear I stumble over my words. I don't sound anywhere near as professional or as heavily edited as I would in, with the music to drive the narrative and the emotion. And the great thing about this type of podcast is I'm able to edit it down, listen to everyone's perspectives, and then kind of re-record myself to sound much more intelligent with the sort of questions I've been asking.
I know how you do that. You've learned the secret. And a lot of it having a good producer like Mallory is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Mallory's been there for every single second of those interviews. We interviewed over 20 people for the podcast. Each one of them were between an hour and a half to 2 hours, lots of tea and coffee and lots of notes taken. So yeah, without Mallory, I couldn't have put it all together.
I want you to look at Drum Corps from a couple of different perspectives. One as a relative newcomer, and as somebody who's an ocean away from where U.S. Drum Corps takes place. From those two perspectives, somebody like me who's been around it for decades, what would you say to a Drum Corps fan that's been around it for a long time that you think maybe we're missing?
I suppose one of the things that I've noticed is I didn't realize just how creative it was back in the 70s and 80s, actually, if I'm honest about it, because I was hearing all of these things about, Drum Corps has changed, and Drum Corps, it's a different activity in 2020 as it was in 1980. And then I go back to 1980 expecting it to be fiercely different, or, maybe not as creative as and I'm finding just amazing stuff in some of the 80 shows and 90 shows. And I mean, I watched the Velvet Nights shows over the last couple of days, and I'm just absolutely blown away by it. I want to see a Velvet Nights show live.
So that was your first experience with VK?
Yeah, I hadn't seen. I'd heard all about them. I just never sat down and watched any of their shows. And I found the 3 seconds of John Denovi of him holding his trumpet as a 19-year-old. So,
what have you heard from fans about Finding Drum Corps, the podcast?
It's been really interesting, actually. Everyone's really enjoyed it. They've been interested to hear an outsider's perspective, because they fully love it. But to hear an outsider who has a bit of a marching and musical background, just hear about it for the first time. I think everyone loves to bring someone to a Drum Corps show for the first time. So to hear a whole podcast of someone going, oh my God, wow, I haven't seen this before. Or, I didn't realize this. I think people have really enjoyed that. And people have been so willing to sort of fill me in on things that I might have missed, you know. By the way, if you've liked that show, you should listen to this show. And I've got lots of emails about that over the last couple of weeks as well. It's been really nice.
My wife Martha and I will celebrate our 5th anniversary this fall, and our second date, I took her to a drum corps show. I mean, you gotta figure out right away if this is going to work, right?
The drum corps or the marriage, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, both. I mean, they're not. There's no negotiating here. They're not separate. She fell in love with it right from the start, and but
good.
Like you know, relatively new to the activity. She has really enjoyed hearing the history. But B, like the episode you did on competition and the contests, and talked to John Phillips and talked about, you know, judging music. She was all in on that. We were just listening to that one yesterday. Now I know that the final episode just dropped. What's in episode 8?
Yeah, so well, the final episode is all about finals week. It's airing on finals week, and it's the one experience that I can say that I've had. You know, I've had those. I was at finals in 2018, and I was at finals in 2019 as well. And I've brought people to it as well. I've been able to share that experience with people and with international fans too. So it's all about not just finals night, but the whole week, the build up to it, the Hall of Fame ceremony, the performer showcase, all of the rehearsals happening in different satellite areas, the logistics behind the finals week as well. So it's become such a massive project from what I hear from prior to 2009, when it was moving from location to location. They weren't really able to kind of establish some of these periphery events around the place. So I follow Dan Atchison around. Well, he talks through what he does from one day to the next. Same with John Denovi, same with some of the performers. And then we go into the final itself and what it's like to perform that final time before the end of the season, and then what it's like to age out and go home and adjust after 3 months and many years maybe with your core.
Hang on 1 second. I've got.
Yeah.
So Keith and I actually have met once in person, and he gave me a tin whistle. Still have it in the box, my friend. I'm going to bring this to Indianapolis next summer. I'm going
to give you a lesson.
And you can give me a lesson, okay?
Sounds good.
Ellie, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Dan.
I love to hear that Irish brogue. Keith Kelly certainly puts the I in DCI, does he not, Dan Potter? He's quite a fellow, he is, that Keith Kelly.
The pacing of his podcast and how in-depth he goes in his interviews with people from a broad spectrum, performers, staff, fans. It's just been really refreshing. And thank you, Keith, for taking over the Field Pass this summer and giving us a break and allowing us to concentrate on things like this, our MarchOn Telethon. I hope you've made your contribution. Steve, I saw during the break, it looks like did somebody hand you some numbers?
Yeah, we finally have some, I don't say finally, we've been watching and waiting and are ready to present some numbers to you. Our first of the night, actually. 559 folks have come through thus far and donated $85,924, which is a pretty nice place to be at this point in the telethon. We thank you very much. We are looking for 2,020 donors. Let's make the figures 2020 bear some good news. So that's really our target here tonight. Got some messages from some of our donors here. Lori Pemberton, a member of the 2019 Crossman Drumline. Benjamin and Megan Handel would not be who we are without DCI. Ben, Blue Coats 97, Blue Devils 99. Megan, Blue Knights 02 through 05. Edwin Hoskins says, thank you for all your service to the kids. Kristen Darling says, Corps members, you are an inspiration and you have brought so much joy to my world. March on. Chris Hardowitz says, looking forward to 2021. March on to victory, Cavaliers. So we'll continue to call the lines as you make contributions and pull a few good ones for some shout outs. I'm thinking, all right, here's a hint. Jeff, go back to the other shot. A hint at what's next. The lady over there next to the board in that costume sets up Dan Potter for our next roll it back here.
Yeah, that is a very good hint. The next show we're going to explore combined the mind of a scientist with the heart of a poet. It was a show that certainly moved the art form forward, and it propelled a rising star, Steve, right to the top. Let's go back to 2013, the corps that quickly earned the nickname the Purple Pants Band, a show that proved that love is truly infinite. Carolina Crown and E equals MC squared. Let's run it back. What an amazing production this was, y'all. And I guess, Jim, let's just start with you. Did you have a sense at any point in the season, June, July, that this was a little something different and this one could go farther?
We had a dress rehearsal where they came in the stadium and I get it right now as I sit here and think about it. I looked at Keith and just was like in awe of what we had out there. That was the first time that we'd seen the whole corps in the purple pants. and what an amazing feeling that I had at that moment. I remember just turning to Keith and going, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And that was the first time. And then numerous times throughout, but it's a memory that sticks with me.
Well, let's get into the show. Let's start with the Strauss, also Sprach Zarathustra. And the dialogue, is that dialogue that we hear at the beginning, is all of that from Einstein on the Beach?
Yeah, it is. All the stuff that Becky and Rebecca said at the beginning was from Einstein on the Beach.
And the imagery I get in hearing that is I'm seeing literally Einstein sitting there on the beach staring at his knees and his mind racing with numbers. Is that what is going on at that moment? Or
if you saw it that way, I think that's brilliant.
There we go. Second piece, energy, Paul Levant Cooper, Matt Harloff. This was the brass compulsories here, man. This was a technical showcase.
Yeah, the 2 years before that helped get to where the opener was, and Michael does such an incredible job of, when he writes that stuff, he knows what he's writing and he knows how to make it achievable. And it was all about getting the whole ensemble, the brass and the pit, all that together when it came to the end, the finals performances and all that. But yeah, that beginning, all that stuff, and love that. It's one of my favorite parts of the show is that beginning.
When that brass line started to be able to do these things that no one else could do, it kind of demanded that the guard interpret those things, so it would be like, oh my God, here's another thing where we have to do something that really picks up the fact that their tongues hitting the mouthpiece 7,000 times in a second. When they're loud, we have to be loud. When they're beautiful, we have to be beautiful. And those things you can easily take for granted. And at the same point in time, it's a huge weight on your shoulders to kind of make sure that it's represented the right way.
So the next thing then is Bern, 1905. This is the one that had the numbers quartet. Hunter Bound, you were part of that. It seems, Hunter, like your tongues were moving as fast as humanly possible as you were doing those numbers. How much rehearsal did it take before you felt like, yeah, I got this?
We spent a lot of time on that. Our responsibility was to agree with what was going on behind us with the battery, so their parts were written outlining what we were doing, and we were kind of like the solo voice on top of that.
As you can imagine, we were blessed to have people that strong and that skilled to be able to do this. But, it just seemed like at Crown, the training allows for you to take those chances, and this is a very, very good example of it. And, you know, and they were with us every step of the way. So in that regard, there really was no disconnect. They were absolutely, as Hunter pointed out, they were part of the front ensemble voice, no pun intended.
I'm going to guess that there are some memories tied to the ballad, and that's where we're going next.
The day with its cares and perplexities is ended, and the night is now upon us. We have need of a soothing story, a familiar story, a story that is so very, very old and yet so new. It is the old, old story.
You know, part of the process, and again, going all the way back to September and just laying this thing out, kind of how it unfolded, and it started to become academic, and it became a little bit science and a little bit math and a little bit physics. And while it ended up being super exciting, Michael Klesch and I would talk a lot about, like, you know, we don't want to get, you know, all about the numbers. You know, we've got to get that heart. There's got to be the emotional juxtaposition to the intellect. You know, for all of the numbers and all of the intellect and all of the drive and the rest of the show, this concept of love being infinite or eternal is so perfect right here.
Without you, I have no reason for being.
You know, the ending, I know the first time I did it at home, like when I saw the final things, everything must have an ending except my love for you. I teared up then. I would tear up at every show. I would go down and stand by the park bench and watch Ethan and Sally dance and do that. And you know, I looked at it today. I got to the end of the score and looked at it, and it made me like want to choke up. There was just something special about that one. Something really special.
If you're not ugly crying by the end of that thing, you've never been in love. I mean,
Yeah, it was the math at its most romantic state, you know, that poem, like, God, who wouldn't read that and want that in their love, you know, in their life, to feel like that?
For me, because I watched the show earlier today as well, I teared up, not by the end, but by the beginning of the ballad, when it's just it's an upper voice, it's an a cappella moment, and our upper trumpets had some range extensions, and they just slotted that, they nailed it. I was just like, holy smokes. It's just how hard that is, and how effortless the kids did it.
Let's go to the closer. I think the thing that's most famous probably about your closer, because it became an internet meme, and I don't know, Leon May, what you call this thing, but I call it a flexing diamond. What do you call it, and were you surprised when it became viral?
The year before, for the Common Good show, one of the iconic symbols we had in that was a cube, and Michael Townsend said, "Hey, you know, we should maybe try to, you know, squeeze one of those into the drill somewhere, like a rotating cube." So we ended up working that out for that year. So then, you know, early on towards the beginning of the move-in, I know that we had talked about, like, you know, this would be a good effect, and we can do it different. The piece of music, it was not Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, but the piece was called Dark Side of the Moon. But I think that kind of fit into what we were doing conceptually with the speed of light towards the end of the show, and the refraction of light. There's one straight line of color guard going into it, and then 4 lines of color guard being refracted out of it.
Receiving the gold medal and recipient of the Founders Trophy, the 2013 Drum Corps International World Champion, Carolina Crown.
I'm looking at the picture behind me. This is from 2013 finals night. Somebody just gave this to me about 6 weeks ago to hang in my office at home. And that's been my wife's favorite picture. It's just her and I, you know, looking at the drum corps and waiting for the audience and hoping that I didn't even know I didn't know what I was thinking. And the rest of the staff was behind me. And I remember going through the awards and looking back, and the brass would be going nuts, and these people be going nuts. And I'm just sitting there holding on, going, oh, we're with you. Can we do this? And it did. And I have that memory that I see all the time. And I can't tell everyone here on this how the feelings you gave me over the years and the feeling that you gave me for this year specific is one that I'll never ever forget. I cherish every moment of being with all of you.
We all have and know those pieces of music that define us and live on forever.
Chase the Clouds Away is one of those songs for the Blue Devils.
Arranged by the legendary Jim Ott, it was first performed by the Corps in 1975 under the larger-than-life field direction of the Corps' first drum major, Dave Dugan, who unfortunately we lost this year.
Clouds came back in 1976, helping the Blue Devils win their first ever DCI championship.
Now, featuring the 2020 brass section,
Drum set player Michael Dye,
and a few special guests.
Here's our version of Chuck Mangione's Chase the Clouds Away.
That's it.
That's fun.
Friends of Drum Corps International. We hope you're enjoying this program. My name is Stephen Troll, and I'm coming to you from DeMolin Brothers and Company. We would like to offer you a special opportunity to help our student musicians everywhere. You can learn more about this by going to www.dci.org/MarchOn. We hope you'll join us. Thank you.
With this being what would have been DCI World Championships week, we wanted to make sure we celebrate the champions. Last year's 2019 Blue Devils with their show Ghostlight. We went behind the curtains with the Blue Devils and produced this awesome documentary, Encore 19 and 19.
I don't want you to let up. This feeling right now with all of you, that beats anything else. That's all it's about.
receiving the silver medal tonight with a score of 98.238.
Sense of great energy, guys. Keep that going. We need that kind of unbridled, uncontainable energy within the constraint of time and rhythm. That way, when we get on the field and we're exploding, we're not freaking out about it, because we've done this before, right? We've played with this kind of energy and we've contained it well. You guys been hearing the applause you get at the end of this? Take that energy that you get from that and take it all the way through 6, okay? Last night I could feel on that 20 count push over the prop at the end of the show, you could start to feel the energy from the crowd, okay? Let's back that up even more to the 6 count halt tonight, so that by that 20 count move, they're wanting to stand up. It starts right here. It starts at the end of 5. I don't want you to let up. Until the end of the show, you're in the big arc. Do you understand? That energy that you create in the big arc is awesome. Keep that energy all the way to the end of the show. Let the audience love it, okay? Tonight, I want to love that so much, my body doesn't know what to do. Here we go, with your major, F to the end. Tear their house down, Blue Devils.
You take the field with storm. They're gonna forget about everything that ever came in front of them when you guys come running out of their doors.
When you come out that door, you unleash. So we get to letter F, ladies and gentlemen. You show them why we're the best in the world and what we do.
We knew back in December, this is the group for this night. You've worked your entire career doing what you do for this night. I can't wait to see what it's going to be like out there.
Take your excitement, focus it. Nothing changes. Focus your energy.
That's what we get to do this year, the Devils. We get to have a final say in the 2019 Drum Corps. And we got a show that's going to make people feel and make sure they don't ignore us. And we're going to turn the activity on here tonight. It's going to be a roller coaster ride of your lifetime. We will be the ultimate Blue Devils ever. You guys ready, Blue Devils? Yeah!
Don't forget, tonight is the DCI Rewind The After Party, a brand new thing coming to Flow Marching, including 10 historic performances from throughout the years of DCI's past. Included in there will be the 2019 Blue Devils show, Ghost Light. So don't miss that tonight, starting right after the March On Telethon.
Corps fans, this is Tim Hinton from the Marching Roundtable podcast and from MarchingArtsEducation.com, saying good luck and best wishes to Drum Corps International and all DCI fans. Marching Arts Education was honored to partner with Drum Corps International this summer to present 8 weeks of educational webinars in the DCI Summer of Learning. 27 different drum corps presented educational webinars over those 8 weeks, and you can see the recordings of this great information at MarchingArtsEducation.com. Now, we all want every drum corps to be back on the field next summer. We want Drum Corps International to stay strong. So let's all do our part. Please support DCI by making a donation today at dci.org/marchon.
Well, gang, this really is a singular moment, not just in the history of DCI, but in the history of everything. Drum Corps International was, of course, several years into an all-out effort to promote health, safety, and wellness when we got hit with this pandemic. Before we get into the challenges that the pandemic itself has presented, let's kind of establish our baseline here. Please, Lori, if you would, give us just a quick summary of the history of the Marching Music Health, Wellness, and Safety Project.
Sure. So the Health, Wellness, and Safety Project started out as the Drum Corps Medical Project, and it was really started by a group of healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, etc., from the Cavaliers Medical Group, because they felt like the activity needed to have something like they had. And then in 2010, 2011, DCI began to become more involved and hold it as an initiative, because it was becoming increasingly evident that the activity was just getting more and more athletic, and we really needed to have a more organized approach to how we assisted the corps when they were on the road and how we moved forward as this activity became more complex.
Say in 2019, if a corps was on the road, could they have pretty much called anywhere in the country to get assistance?
Just about. I mean, we've built a pretty good network, and we're continuing to build, and we need anyone who wants to join in our effort who is an allied healthcare professional.
These medical professionals, many of them, I take it, are giving their time gratis, but this effort takes financial support, doesn't it?
DCI has been great. They've been wonderful. They have supported us to hold events for medical staff so that we can help train them. We've had webinars and other events during the summer. We hold a San Antonio's Midsummer Medical Summit for the medical staff, just to really be able to support them in a way that they need to be supported. Stephen,
you want to comment on that?
Well, I think it's been great seeing how this has grown over the last 10 years or so. Like I said, I came in from this without any drum corps experience either. So I came at it from the point of view of how do we take care of athletic teams when they're on the road? And so we've been trying to blend those two, because basically drum corps is an athletic team on the road. So we have to kind of keep working with that, and then just trying to broaden, like Lori said, the number of people we have working with the drum corps so they understand the activity and appreciate how athletic it just is.
And it's not just physical health, it's mental health as well, and safety too. We'll get to safety in a moment, but mental health. Jake Levy, you and I have talked a couple of times during the winter meetings about the efforts that have been ongoing for several years now to tend to the mental health needs of marching members.
Yeah, absolutely. But beyond just the things that are related to the activity themselves, we were dealing with, with young people in the height of their, burgeoning adulthood, and they're struggling with the same kinds of things that all people in high school and college age communities struggle with. And taking them on the road oftentimes is not necessarily going to create a problem, but it certainly can reveal a problem that happens. And there's constant challenges, and just trying to help them just be the outstanding performers that they can be, and give them the support they need in order to maximize that. That's the whole reason why I do this, and the whole reason why I think all of us do this. It's for our performers, and allowing them to be their best.
And to be their best, they have to have the best fuel. Lisa Dorfman, I'm a foodie, and I think one of the great stories that doesn't get told enough in the Drum Corps activity is how food service to marching members has evolved over the last 10, 20 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm new to Drum Corps, like Steve said he was when he came on board, but I am a lifelong athlete, a former pro athlete, and a musician. And I know firsthand with working with athletes that if you don't get the right fuel in your body, you don't stay nourished, you don't stay hydrated, there's no way that you could have the mental focus, the energy. You have a much more difficult time recovering from your training, preparing for a competition, and just staying healthy. And now with COVID and everything that we need to be concerned about in terms of safety, food safety is such a critical issue. So I'm super excited, and what a team I get to be a part of here. So I'm thrilled. Thank you.
As a journalist and radio personality in Oklahoma, I work with a lot of meteorologists. And just like in our Drum Corps activity, there are legends like, Lori Van Doren's husband, Donnie Van Doren, for instance, a brass legend in this activity. And we have a lot of them. In meteorology, in this Tornado Alley state of Oklahoma, there is this guy, Kevin Clazel.
Because I know that my involvement started with involvement from marching performers from corps that were in the Pride of Oklahoma, the University Marching Band. And they would come back to my classes, some of them being meteorology students, and saying, oh man, we almost got hit by this lightning and almost got, wind knocked this over, and on and on. And they were all excited about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, right? We've got safety issues here that need to be addressed. And I need you guys, right, the meteorology students, to be at the forefront of this. And that's happened, right? We have really seen just an absolute 180 with respect to, it's tough to hear when you're working with a drum corps out on the field. You can't hear thunder. You've got too many things going on. So having the latest and greatest technological capabilities in the hands of DCI leadership and in the hands of many of the corps. Many of the corps right now are using heat metrics that are top of the line, right? They are so far advanced over even many other sports teams that it's really an honor to get to work to them, because, not because we're a big deal, but because they want to improve. They want to see safety as a primary, and they have integrated that across the board with respect to weather.
Okay, well, let's talk about 2021. What can we learn between now and then, and what can we do to make tour next summer, if it happens, as safe as possible? Lori, you're the chair. Let's start with you.
Well, that is the question, the $1 million question. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to draw from, what we're seeing happen around us in both professional and collegiate athletics. We'll look at what's happening in the theater world in terms of performing and the performing arts, and we'll draw upon what they learn as they go forward as well, and collaborate as much as we can. And then morph that into what we think is the most safe approach for our activity going forward.
Dr. Rock?
Let's say, think about where we were just 3 or 4 months ago. We didn't hardly know anything, and how much we've learned during that time. So we have that luxury. We have about another 9 months or so before move-ins. So we have a lot of time, like what Lori said, with all the schools, all the other sports going on, what they're learning, but also as a healthcare provider, what sort of treatments will come about in the next 9 months. Are we going to have better ways of preventing it? Are we going to have a better understanding of how it's passed around, so we can do a better job of prevention? And so there's a lot to learn in the next 9 months. And since we have that much time, we just have to be patient and wait to make decisions, unfortunately.
Hi, I'm Doug Bell, one of the drum majors for the 2020 Carolina Crown Drum and Bugle Corps from Fort Mill, South Carolina. On behalf of Carolina Crown and Crown Cares, we would like to dedicate the following video to the strong, compassionate, hardworking, and brave medical professionals and first responders out there. We are so thankful for you, and we hope this video makes you smile.
Hello, my name is Christine Nayo-Katzman, publisher of Halftime Magazine. Drum Corps International and its member organizations need our help to continue operating smoothly. Please join me in contributing to DCI's March On campaign.
Hi DCI fans, it's Scott and Peggy Bilbrook from eAdjudicate Online Judging.
We were happy to host the online portion of the DCI Performer Showcase, and we look forward to sharing some of those results with you tonight.
We look forward to seeing you in 2021 as we continue to move forward and march on.
Hello DCI fans, Jeff Dent here from Tournament of Bands, representing the Mid-Atlantic states. We are all disappointed to miss this summer's fantastic performances due to the cancellation of the 2020 DCI Tour. Many of our own TOB kids were excited to be marching this summer, adding to the hundreds of TOB kids who've competed in DCI tours over the past 40 years. If you can, please donate today at www.dci.org, March On. And together we can all continue to march on for the 2021 season.
Drum Corps has taught me the power of and. To be a team player and self-reliant. To be disciplined and flexible. And to face challenges and remain positive always. and is a pretty powerful concept.
Drum Corps has taught me accountability, taking responsibility for your mistakes and actions. You know, that it's okay to make mistakes just as long as you can learn from them.
Well, I'm sorry about that. The autumn leaves apparently fell early. We'll see if we can locate the audio part of that file from the Blue Coast. It's one of those evergreens that we always love. Joining me now, we're back live here, is Stuart Pompel, who is the director of Pacific Crest, and Vicki McFarlane, who is director of the Colts, and they are also members of the Drum Corps International MarchOn Task Force. Sounds to me like you've taken on a very ambitious task here, Stuart. What is the task force about, and what's your goal?
I'm going to take you back a little bit. We started having meetings with the membership, of course, in advance of the cancellation. And when we made that fateful decision in March, of course, we had to kind of figure out, well, what do we do now? And the first step, I think, was us kind of deciding, the 22 of us in the room, that we need to keep talking. We need to continue to grow together and better understand one another, and kind of help each other through the emotional toll of canceling the season. You know, the directors and the seconds and the thirds that are in the room, very passionate people about this activity, and they're doing it all for the right reasons. And so when this came to a screeching halt, I think we all had to take some time to grieve for a little bit. And then after we did that for a few weeks, we realized, okay, well, now, we're a bunch of type A control freaks. We got to do something, right? What are we going to do? And so I had this terrible idea of starting to do some brainstorming with the 22 directors in the room, with all of their seconds. And it came to realize after a number of my colleagues said, yeah, that's not going to work. So we decided instead to get a smaller group together. We called it the MarchOn Task Force, and incredibly grateful that Vicki agreed to step up and take a leadership of it. So I'll pass it to you, Vicki, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the committee and the work that they've been doing.
Yeah, we had on the MarchOn Task Force, and actually if you couple that with the Membership Affairs Committee, every world-class corps is represented and has their director involved in one of those committees. With the MarchOn Task Force, we actually ended up, as we looked at the complexity of everything that we do, from tour to housing, rehearsal sites, the economics, the health and wellness, all those aspects, we realized that we needed to break further into subcommittees. So we've had every director has been involved in some way and really analyzing and breaking down these topics into what we call modules, actually. So that way, inside each module, we've been able, whether that's tour or housing or the health and wellness, that we can break things into a wide variety of scenarios. That way, when we have this idle time, that we're not sitting idle or being melancholy, and we actually have prepared a wide variety of scenarios that we'll be able to plug and play with as soon as we know what 2021 will look like. Each week, we're still meeting each week, and we'll continue to meet weekly, and each meeting really ends with, like, what have we not thought of yet? What have we learned from the world this week, and how will we move forward?
You must feel a little bit like you're playing whack-a-mole, because things just change all the time. How, you come up with a plan this week, but you've got a whole different set of ground rules by the time you get to next week's meeting.
I think that's the beauty of breaking it into modules, Steve, because you can plan a variety of scenarios for housing, right? So just there's a fairly simple example, right? We're going to be in hotels, we're going to be in schools, or some kind of hybrid. But you can plan around each of those while the world is doing its thing, while the virus is deciding what it's going to do. You can figure out a variety of different tour scenarios, from the length of tour, the type of events. You can do all that planning while the world is continuing to work, so that when, as Vicki said, we get to the point that we have an answer, hey, we're going to go this direction, we can pull this module from housing, or this scenario from the housing module, and this scenario from the tour length module, and this scenario from the health and wellness, how to open up, et cetera. And so that's in the perfect world, I guess. That's kind of how we're doing it, and why we thought that was probably the most efficacious way to do some of that planning.
You know, the thing that strikes me as competitive as this activity can be, the way that everybody's pulling together. I mean, your two corps are very competitive with each other, have been the last couple of years, and everybody's same team here. There is no competitive nature. We've got to all survive this as one.
You could not have said it any better, Steve. We will only succeed when we are together and strong together. And I just am really personally blown away by the amount of collegiality and professionalism and discussion in the room between all these colleagues of ours. The amount of collective knowledge is just unfathomable. And what we're able to gain from these discussions, at the very least, we've come together in a more close, I mean, we're talking every week since the middle of March, or maybe even before that. We're getting to know each other, we're getting a better understanding of each other, and we're opening up to one another and sharing some of our fears in our own organizations and our aspirations as well.
Yeah, Vicki, I guess there's a little bit of a silver lining to all that.
Yeah, it could get frustrating to me at first and right now, and I think just in general, it's the same way with the world, right? We spend a lot of time talking, and we spend a lot of time thinking, and really, it just comes back to we can't make specific decisions yet, but let's make sure our time is spent seeking solutions for every situation we might encounter, and that way, through our conversation, we understand each other as organizations far better than I believe we used to. And then that allows us to understand how to handle our collective activity and work together. That is Drum Corps International. And that those efforts compound to our collegiality, to our understanding, and our sensitivity to all needs of all of our participating organizations.
Now, while I've got you both here, let me check in on your corps. Vicki, what's happening in Dubuque, and how are the Colts faring through this?
Ooh, we just wrapped up our homeroom program. That was our virtual summer experience, and it was an undertaking. We took on our first instructional visual instruction in terms of the dance, saber, rifles, and put together a virtual performance beyond just music. So we had our brass percussion, color guard, and did a little movement with the entire corps. We combined Colts and Colt cadets for that effort. So, I mean, we had never really put one of those projects together till this summer. So even as instructors and administrators, we've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, we're getting a handle on this virtual world here by necessity. Stuart, how about out there in California with a Crest?
Well, we've been doing weekly town halls every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, and attendance sort of ebbs and flows based upon the school year, before in the spring, or what people are doing during the summer. This last Thursday, we actually watched part of Brass Roots, in honor of Championships Week, and getting a little bit of history lesson for our members and folks who are on the call. From a programmatic perspective, we created something called Virtual Studio. So again, another example of online programming. We have private lessons that we do, and there's like a variety of master classes and webinars that were in the can. We have not developed a whole lot since then, but we have two more master classes in particular that are going into development. And then our own group, we've had our own little Pacific Crest version of the MarchOn Task Force with about a dozen people in our own organization, and are now starting to put pen to paper and numbers against scenarios so we can start getting our own idea of what our budget will be for next year. So kind of working on a program side and the admin side, and just sort of the care of the members. And I know that all the directors of every participating organization realize that the kids are the biggest losers in all of this. They just they want to perform, they want to be out there, and I think we all also share as directors, the sadness of our teaching artists and our designers who aren't available because of this to inspire this group of students. So everybody is losing in this, and I think like what Vicky's doing with and her team are doing with Colts, and just around the country, it seems like every drum corps is doing something to pivot and create some kind of programming for their students and their community. It's all for the same reason. We're trying to keep students engaged, and as well as our teaching artists and designers to the greatest extent possible.
Well, it's amazing how innovative everybody has gotten, and if we do get 2021 off the ground, we ought to have some smoking good drum corps with all of this extra training here. Thank you both for joining us. Best of luck to your respective corps, and thank you for everything you're doing to help the greater good here with the MarchOn Task Force.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, we have been steadily checking numbers here, haven't we, Jeff? Oh my. Oh my. We've had a good run of things while we have been in these segments, ladies and gentlemen. We have broke 702 supporters now, $106,611 raised. That's a pretty nice number. And we've been seeing the crawl going across the bottom of the screen. It's been gratifying to see several fellow members of the Drum Corps International Hall of Fame. Normally we contribute to a scholarship, but that didn't happen this year, so our Hall of Fame members stepping up and contributing to the March On Fund. We also have some more comments coming in with some of the donations. Justin Wilson says, March On DCI. I'm a first-year band director at a small school, and we have big plans to start a marching band here. Hopefully in a few years, some of our students will be marching in a corps. Patrick McCarty, March On DCI from a Colts, 1999 alum. Andrea Meyer, looking forward to 2021. It's going to be epic. Brian Harston, summer isn't the same without a DCI season. March On, the SCV transportation staff. Thank you one and all. We look forward to seeing your name on the bottom of the screen, dci.org/give. If you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and hit that share button, hit that like button, help us widen the footprint, if you will, as we move on toward the latter stages of this March On-a-thon. This is important work that we're doing here to pave the way for 2021. All right, we have Dan Potter standing by. This one is going to be fun, folks. These Run It Back series have been quite interesting. You can see we changed the uniform once again on my co-host. Yep. That ought to give it away, Dan.
Yeah, well, and I've had a uniform change too. You pointed this out earlier, Steve. This T-shirt, this March On T-shirt, which isn't this cool. We'll love this thing. You've got one as well. That's available at the $100 level and above. So, I mean, isn't that cool? I'm going to wear this to work on Monday. I can't wait.
I was going to put mine on, but I couldn't get the mic on cleanly, so you'll have to represent for us.
Absolutely, be happy to do that. Let me a little more show and tell here. Let me put this up here.
Nice, bling.
Yeah, so I marched with the Geneseo Knights, and the best we ever did when I marched was 19th, which was great. But I never dreamed I'd ever have a world championship ring. I was privileged enough to be asked to record the intro to this next show back in 2016, and they were gracious enough to give me a championship ring because of that, and it's something I'll treasure forever. This, Steve, is the most contemporary of the Run It Backs that we're going to show you tonight. It's from, like I say, just 4 years ago. It's a show that is at once both an iconic fan favorite, and it's also one that was certainly an artistic game changer. In 2016, the Bluecoats literally took drum corps and turned it downside up. Let's run it back.
Corps International is proud to present the Blue Coats.
Joining us to run it back from 2016, the Blue Coats design and instructional staff, and in fact, even a drum major to represent the marching members. And I've really been looking forward to talking to all of you about where the ideas behind this show came from. And I guess probably the best place to start, you know what, Dean, every time we've talked about Blue Coats design, you have steered me toward the music first, that you guys in your design meetings find cool music and then design a show around that music. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would say leading into 2016, that was certainly the case. With Tilt was music driven initially. Kinetic Noise, I think, was. But with this, I'm going to do a plug for donate to your local PBS. John and I saw a special that was, he was living in Bloomington at the time, so it was on the Bloomington PBS and on the Indy PBS. And it was this group called Motion House, this British dance company that did all of their stuff outside, on walls, on big tractors, on playgrounds. It was taking dance outside of the hall. And I remember texting John, turn on PBS, and he was watching it too. And this show, I have to say, I think the idea maybe started there.
I knew we were looking for something, some sort of sculptural, architectural kind of thing to use in the field that allowed for a lot of different things out of one idea. You know what I mean? And also to really explore vertical.
Well, everything did certainly look different, from the ramps to the color palette to Greg Lagola, the costuming. And I use that word advisedly because 2016 was the first year the Blue Coats shed their quote unquote uniforms in favor of a costume.
We had talked about the idea of coming out of the traditional uniform for a while before that. And I think it was just a matter of finding the right time to do it so that all the stars had to sort of align in terms of what the visual program is going to be. And then if we were going to be, so once we sort of had this idea about the verticality and all this movement, it was okay, well, this is it. Now I can't be sliding down things, with, a helmet on and a big jacket on and all this other stuff. So I'm well, and I think we had a conversation, John and Jim and I, about, well, this is it. This is going to be the time to go for it.
Tradition is an amazing thing. And so many people on this call, what we come from, look at it, we have people who come from the Cavaliers, the Cadets, the Vanguard. We have people that come from corps with great traditions. I think one of the reasons that 2016, Greg was able to take this, and it was a leap of faith. We don't think about it like that now because most people do look like that now. But in 2016, to be the first one through, Dave says it all the time, this is either going to change the game or it's not going to work at all. But being part of an organization that the tradition I've always felt with them, from them, is it's not about a costume or a drill move or anything. Their expectation out of us is to be as cool and push as much as we can and give the kids a great experience.
It's one thing to design all this crazy stuff, but then somebody's got to teach it and clean it. And Siobhan, Ryan, Roger, Matt, Derek, that fell on you guys. Oh, Roger Carter, I mean, you had battery that was elevated up in the air, however tall those ramps were.
Well, when we're sitting at the top or standing at the top of the ramp, and then the first thing we're going to play is after a little bit of clapping and such, no warm-up, we're going to just go in and play the hardest thing in the show, the snare feature. So right away, the pragmatic part of me is saying, man, how are we going to do this? How are we going to be warm enough to play? it turned out, luckily, that the physical act of clapping for that long actually did sort of get their hands warm. So having not played an on-the-field warm-up or anything like that, it sort of serendipity worked out that way.
We talk a lot about the beginning of the show, and I'm going to do it again with the heat of the day stuff. I mean, it wasn't just far left or right. It was also, the second group was farther back, if I remember right. It was farther upstage. So that group was, in relation to the drum major, was playing ahead of what they were hearing. It was crazy.
I wish that Vince Oliver and Aaron Beck could be with us, because all of the things we've talked about combine to make that show what it is. But the element we haven't touched on yet is the sound design, and it was as critical as anything that we've already talked about.
I mean, Vince very much was part of the spirit of adventure, with this group. So many ideas that I couldn't possibly execute. I know nothing about electronics. And you'd go to Vince and say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if, we recorded the horn line and then we played it backwards during a really cool drill move. And Vince would be like, yeah, we can do that.
It was the super complex things like that, but it was also things like that ended the show and ended the second part of the show, just those two guitar jump rong. Those Strum's iconic things that really made, they're so ingrained in the personality of that show when I think about it and look back on it.
I want to spend some time talking about the ballad here. Whose idea was it to play Great Gig in the Sky, Pink Floyd?
It was John, after John made us dump a piece that he had composed for it. He dumped his own ballad, and then I think it was basically a straightforward of we should just do something like Pink Floyd's Great Gig in the Sky and, just do it.
One thing about John's tune in April was that, first of all, we learned about Ben, because I had no idea that he had flugel chops like that. And in John's piece, there was some, technical passages, kind of, ornate passages, which, found their way into Great Gig. And then we also learned that we had some pretty decent trombone players and some good low trombone players. So those sounds found their way into Great Gig as well.
We got to talk about the wink. I invited Shane O'Brien to be on this. He unfortunately had a conflict and couldn't join us. But Shane is the trumpet soloist at the end of Great Gig in the Sky. Shane finishes his solo. He smiles, and this is in prelims. This is prelims. This is the one that's in the movie theaters. He looks at the camera and winks. That's the first time. So then the question becomes, is he going to do it again? And semifinals, he didn't.
We told it. We were all over him. We told him not to. We didn't know that wink was coming. I didn't even really realize it necessarily happened in the moment. But I think that was the movie broadcast, right? Because smoke and flames started coming out of my phone about 10 minutes after, and I have not seen. And we knew it was kind of this quick 15 minutes of whatever. But I remember pretty quickly we're like, what was neat about it is it was honest. It was authentic. It wasn't scripted. Right. And so we were like, dude, don't do that semifinals. And I will say, I didn't think we were amazing in semifinals. We had a couple technical difficulties. So I was glad he didn't do it, because then it would have seemed the opposite of authentic. And then, of course, in finals, you guys put the sign on the camera, baiting them hardcore.
Here is what the sign is.
Here, and he made you wait for it. And I have a playlist that I have that show on when I'm driving around. And when that comes up, I love hearing the impact, the payoff, just on I'm not watching it, listening, the audience response, but then that swell that happens 5 seconds later when he did the wink. was a moment. I'll take it.
I think that's a small part of what the uniform did for us that year, is that the audience members, for the first time in a long, long time, we're seeing young people, not trained robots, actually performing and enjoying performing. And I think that was part of the success of this show, is we connected with the audience because you could see real people getting this stuff done.
At spring training, John used to come up to me a lot and go, I think we might have just broke drum corps. And then he would walk away. And I got totally the humor and spirit that he meant that in. But I really do think that I think it did push the activity into a really fun place that's allowing the performers to shine in a way that they've never been able to shine before.
For several years now, Drum Corps International has expanded its inclusivity through the InStep program, and that's been aimed primarily at attracting more female participation, both as marching members and as designers, instructors, judges, every facet of Drum Corps International. That's been through the InStep program, and now the InStep program is growing. It's a new phase of its development, and joining me to talk about what's new for InStep is the chair of the InStep committee, Genevieve Geisler, who's also the CFO, COO, and co-core director of the Blue Coats. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi, how are you?
And Jonathan Powell, his friends call him JP. He is a board member of the Blue Stars, also a Drum Corps International board member, and now part of InStep as well. Jonathan, good to talk to you.
How are you doing, Dane?
Good. Genevieve, could you just very briefly tell us a quick history of InStep?
Yeah, so InStep started a couple years ago, and it was designed to like you said, increase participation for women in the marching arts, both as participants and at the instructional and administrative design highest levels. And not just to increase participation, but also to create a better environment that people want to be involved in and promote gender diversity and inclusion. But at the time that InStep was started, we actually did have the idea that it would expand to, not just InStep women of DCI, but to also address racial and ethnic diversity and other types of diversity as we had the resources to expand the program. And so that's what we're working on right now, to apply a lot of the things that we've been working on to all types of diversity and inclusion issues within DCI and the marching arts.
Jonathan, that seems especially timely in 2020.
It is. We're
we're excited to partner with, of course, the current DCI board, and we've made this a priority that InStep really expand and look out and see what other areas we can improve within the marching arts, specifically within Drum Corps International. For us, it's been a focus on are we doing the right things to promote our inclusivity within the activity, and really bring into the fold memberships from either marginalized communities or communities that are underrepresented within our activity.
How do you feel we're doing at this point in time?
Obviously, always I can give the cliche answer of there's always plenty of work to be done. I can absolutely say that I'm happy to hear that we're moving in the right direction, that there's really a fantastic amount of effort and energy from all of the voting membership, as well as all of the open class corps, to really kind of take a look within their organization and to see what they can do to improve and move the needle forward.
I know this is an odd year and this is in development, but JP, I'll ask you first and then Genevieve, if people want to get involved, what can they do right now? Anything?
Absolutely. So coming up in the coming weeks, there'll be an invitation to a DCI open town hall geared specifically at our African-American members across our administrative teams, our staff, as well as our marching members. And that's really an opportunity for us as a precursor to really getting involved with the InStep activity, to kind of hear some of the concerns within our communities, and then kind of expanding that to all persons of color, and really being able to establish with Genevieve's help and the rest of the board what DCI's action plan looks like as we kind of move forward into 2021 and 2022.
And Genevieve, I know that you've had events at DCI regionals in the past. Things were planned for 2020. As we look ahead, fingers crossed, to 2021, there will be many opportunities, I take it, for participation.
Yeah, I look forward to being able to, increase the diversity of our events when we are able to redo that again next year for InStep. I think you can look forward to that kind of thing, and also some concrete policy suggestions and talks about how we can change our policies, both at the DCI level and within individual marching groups and corps, to incorporate or address issues of racial and ethnic diversity and racism and sexism within our group. So I think that will be the next, after we start the conversation, like JP's talking about, our goal would be to come out with some more concrete policy suggestions, as we've done with gender diversity issues.
Genevieve, JP, thank you both. Folks, stay tuned to this space and at dci.org for more on that town hall.
InStep we are, something I struggled with in my marching career, but DCI's got a handle on it. Dan Potter, we've got some friends joining us. It's about time we talked about open class drum corps, don't you think?
Up in Marion watching open class championships. I miss that. And folks, if you've never made it to an OC championship, you are missing something, because the open class corps are spectacular, and they've been spectacular for years now. Joining me is the Drum Corps International Open Class Coordinator, Dave Edelman. Dave, good to talk to you.
Thank you.
You're there in is it the Captain Benish house? Is that your beautiful house up there in Maine?
Yeah, Captain Bennis' house. He built it in 1875. The neat thing about old Captain Bennis was he served all 4 years in the Civil War. His very first task as a U.S. citizen, he came from Austria, was voting for Abraham Lincoln in 1960.
Wow. That is love that. Also with us is Tim Heasley. Tim is the core director of Golden Empire of Bakersfield, California. Tim, welcome to our March On Telethon.
Glad to be here, Dan.
I wanted to check in with both of you, and Steve, stick around because I know you got a couple of questions too. But let's find out about the status. We've concentrated a lot on world class here, but this has impacted open class as much, if not more, than world class, this pandemic and the shutdown and everything associated with it. As open class coordinator, Dave, can you kind of give us an update on what the corps have been doing, what you've been doing to stay in communication, to move things forward, to march on?
Well, thank you for asking that, because our open class corps directors run organizations that are fairly resilient, and I would also call it maybe nimble in terms of this particular situation. Because they work on smaller budgets and they work on usually smaller or shorter, let's say more truncated tours, I think that they might be well prepared and in a good position to venture into 2021 and whatever that offers to us as far as Drum Corps International and the continuation of the Drum Corps activity.
Tim, is that the case? I mean, do you think you're going to weather this okay?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can speak best for my own program. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Obviously, like many programs, we're looking hard at how we do budgeting at this time and all that. We are, we've trimmed our operations way down, and we're doing mostly virtual learning with a lot of really just volunteer hours from just an amazing staff that wants to see the Corps continue on. And I know that that's probably a pretty common thread with other open class Corps that are, weathering the storm right now.
Where were you? I mean, how did it look this 2020 season for Golden Empire before March hit and all the trouble?
Well, we were pretty excited. We had a great group of students show up for auditions in our audition season. And, our staff has pretty much been the same for the last few years. And I think they get, just as excited as anyone else when a season gets started. They get the band back together, so to speak. And they were really excited about the future. We still continue to have a design process that's happening right now that everyone's really excited about. And so we think that's going to be really fun to dig into again when we get a chance to return to all of this. So.
In the meantime, virtual learning? Have you been doing any of that, digging into that?
Absolutely. That's so we happen to be at Golden Empire, a college program. So we actually kind of finished out our spring semester just in an online modality like any other class on our campus. And so we kept up kind of our regular schedule. It just was all virtual masterclass style things. And then, of course, we've been checking in throughout the summer as well. But we took a slightly different focus this summer, as I'm sure some other programs have, where we really realized that it's not just about the education piece that students are not getting right now. It's also just the social piece of being in a drum corps, that it's the conversations at the meal break or on the bus or you name it. And it's really hard to replicate those moments, but we in our program have tried to do that through some kind of social gatherings online and things. So.
Steve, back in Indianapolis, you're monitoring this discussion. What occurs to you?
Well, it's just remembering my marching days coming up through what was the Class A ranks back then, which would have been the open class ranks. I think they were some of the most gratifying years as a marching member, and it struck me about that socialization angle. I think you're right, because that is so important to the younger kids as part of our development here within this activity, creating fine citizens out of those young people.
Absolutely.
Dave, we've heard appeals from Dan Atchison and Steve about supporting Drum Corps International as well as supporting its member corps. From the open class perspective, this is your chance. What's the pitch here? Why I'm going to give my money to my favorite corps. Why should I also support DCI? And how do they support open class corps?
Well, that's a really good question. And the open class organizations are very often the entry level for a lot of the kids that are coming into the activity. So when you've got somebody that is a 16 or 17-year-old student that is in high school and is looking for an opportunity to be a part of a drum and bugle corps, they're looking at probably an open class experience. So I look at it, I call it entry level, whatever that you can call it whatever you like, but that's that opportunity for those kids to become a part of DCI. And so many of the kids out in the band world, I'll call it, are anxious to be a part of Drum Corps International, but they're not sure that they can be a part of the Blue Coats or the Blue Devils or one of those groups quite yet. But they do have an opportunity to join Tim's group, the Golden Empire, or any of the other open class drum corps, and get a great drum corps experience in terms of wonderful training, a great program that they can participate in and be a part of, great tour experience. And then if they want to use that as a launching board to move on to one of those other groups, they have an opportunity to do that. So I think that DCI supporting open class drum corps is essential, because I think that is our future, is those kids that are coming in as entry-level participants in the activity.
The other thing is the level of quality has just done this at open class. It's just amazing what these corps are accomplishing now.
Oh, Steve, I'm so glad you brought that up because it is remarkable. And it should be really no question about that because the directors like Tim, there are some really wonderfully dedicated professional people working at the helms of these open class drum corps. And they're bringing in some incredibly talented staff people. They're doing a great job of designing a program that works for the amount of tour and the amount of time that they're going to be engaged and involved with their students. So they've figured out the formula to really have a successful program at the open class level. And you're right. I'm absolutely astounded by what I see year over year in terms of the growth and development of open class drum corps.
Tim Heasley, do you take the 2020 show, put it on a shelf, take it off in 2021, dust it off, add some things to it, and put it on the field, or do you design a whole new show in 2021?
Well, I think for the most part, we're going to retain it. I think we were just so excited about the concept, but we also realized that, you know, as we all transition into 2021, we need to be thinking about that show in the context of what that season ends up being for everyone. And so I don't think it's just going to be a put it on the shelf, take it off situation. I think we're really going to make sure it's catered to the specific members that we have in the next season, and then it's catered to the time that we're living in. So, but yeah, we like what the theme was, so we're going to keep that part.
So many question marks. Gentlemen, thank you for giving us the answers that you could and for being with us tonight. Dave Edelman and Tim Heasley, we really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Steve?
Yeah, somehow I got a feeling everybody will be hitting the field next year with masks on just to start the show. I hope not. Hey, let's check it out. Got a few new numbers here. We're up to 774 supporters and $114,850 thus far. I say thus far because we have a little more time. And you know, some of you are out there who haven't given yet, but it's been really gratifying seeing the numbers or seeing the names go by at the bottom of the screen. A lot of people I know and a lot of people I don't know, but you can tell it has been a significant community effort. Couple of more shout outs here from some folks. These were more or less chosen at, well, okay, some of these weren't chosen at random. DCI Hall of Famer Michael Gaines says, DCI changed my life. DCI changed the life of most of my lifelong friends. I want DCI to be able to change the lives of generations to come. Thank you, DCI. Thank you, Michael Gaines. That's a ringing endorsement. Mark Richardson. Thanks to all have contributed to help DCI and its participating units. Rosie and Jeff Queen. March on. We hope to see everyone at DCI 2021. Catherine Linton. Blue Devils Corps members Ted, Ollie, and May looking forward to marching on for many seasons to come. Keep them coming. We'll put a few more shout outs in there, but right now Dan's going to come back and we're going to rip it back again. This one, boy. Living in Indiana now for the last almost 10 years, I've come to embrace the history of this group, especially having Bill Cook as a friend of 25 years.
Well, yeah, and on the other side of that coin, living in Texas for 20 years, as I did, now in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but living in the Dallas area for 20 years, this was a special championship for me and my family too. In fact, if you look at those DVDs on the back of the field, the radio station that I worked at the time was one of the sponsors of the show. So having
Small world.
Yeah, exactly. Having the championships in the Cotton Bowl in 1991 was certainly special for me. And this corps, as you said, Bill Cook and everybody associated with this corps made it such a special, special year. They were only around 9 seasons, Star of Indiana. In their 7th year, though, this corps did field what was one of the most revered shows in Drum Corps International history. The music of Respighi, the drill of George Zingali, the setting, the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, the cross to cross.
Cross to cross.
Yeah, 1991 Star of Indiana. Let's run it back. let's dig right in with the name of the show. It was Roman Images. And Jeff and Jim, you guys were on the design team. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the origins of Roman Images. What was the show in '90? I should have gone back and looked. Let's ask that first.
Very important what the program was in 1990. That was Belshazzar's Feast, based on the music of William Walton. And much like what happens as you're scaffolding in a series of years with any drum corps, 1990 was definitely a tremendous building block for 1991 in terms of the maturity of the members and their ability to handle very sophisticated material. So I think that led us to believe that we could pull off a program like the 1991 Roman Images.
Cross to cross. This is one of those drum corps stories that if you're around this activity enough, you'll hear it told several times, and it seems like it changes a little bit depending on the storyteller, and given all these years, that's easy to understand. But it generally involves a very late rehearsal. And did it involve George Zingali basically physically moving around every single member of the corps and writing the drill off the top of his head?
But I remember getting phone calls that day telling me about the old new ending that was not very good. And so I called George and I said, George, what's going on? And he said, you know, it didn't work, but I've got some ideas.
We knew that George was sick, and we're wondering what was going to happen. And all of a sudden, right near the end of ensemble rehearsal, in comes George. And so we take a quick break, and we come back, and it's 9 o'clock, and he comes up and he goes, okay, he goes, he's trying to he was really tired and had no energy, but he's trying to be as energetic as he could. And he said, okay, that whole ending that you worked all day on, he goes, it's a piece of shit. He goes, just, we're not going to do it. And everybody goes, yay, everybody goes crazy. He goes, so we're going to learn something new, and you're going to do this on the field, and you're going to do all this basics means we're going to learn all this together. So he comes over to me and he says, this is what we're going to do. He said, I'm going to take a section of the corps and I'm going to move them. And then after I move them, if everything's in 8 counts, I'm going to go to the next section. You go behind me and run this for 8 counts and just run it. Todd's going to be charting it up top. And then when you get done with them, come to the next section I just finished, and we'll basically do it piecemeal, back and forth, back and forth. At one point, the drum line, he was working with the horn so much, the drum line asked, what do you want us to do or something like that? And George, said, just write it yourself. And so the bass drums are like, all right, we're going to pinwheel this around. And the snares are like, we're going to do this. And they wrote some incredible self-drill for all of that.
So the percussion, as we entered the stadium, we were at the top. And this is when the horn line was finishing up their last few runs. And I remember we were all walking down with our equipment, making sure we wouldn't fall down the stairs. And then the whole drum line just stopped. And we were watching the horn line do the run. And I don't think anybody said anything. I just remember I did this. I went. It was just such a visceral, and we were like, well, let's get down there, let's learn our part. And like you said, it's just like, all right, just write your own drill.
We get through all of the different sections. We took a break about halfway through, and George ate like a Snickers bar and sat there and keeps going, keep running sections. We're running it down tempo, and then we get the entire thing done. Everybody, no one's tired. I think it's like 1:30 in the morning. We get up and we had run it set to set, and then Todd at the top, everybody, the food staff had come in, brass, everybody's there, and they're all in there. And Todd, he's talking through the Lone Ranger really, really quietly. And he says, okay, we're going to run the entire thing. And I'm like, got it. And he goes, Bobby, we're going to take it down tempo. And I turned around and I said, got it. And I turned around and looked at everybody on the corps, like really quietly. And I said, you guys want to go down tempo? And they had some choice words for me. I was like, I got you. And so I counted it off. And as I counted off at tempo, the last thing I heard was Todd Ryan going, no! And we started it, and we went full tilt from top to bottom, singing at the top of our lungs. And at the end, we bring the horns down, we sit there, and I turn around, all I see are papers flying in the air in the stadium, going down and everything else. And it was the greatest ending in drum corps history, and we performed it at Lynn, Massachusetts, like 3 days later.
had so much faith in the design team, and that everything George and Jimmer and everyone was going to do was going to fit together and blend together. And it just gave, I think it gave everyone in the organization so much confidence, because you knew that whatever came next in the show was right and it fit.
I think part of the magic of the whole design between Jim Mason and Len Krasecki, I think they really nurtured the brilliance of George Zengali.
Jim came up to me. He said, you know, do you think there's an ending issue? And I said, yeah, there's something there, something wrong with it. Jimmer felt the same way, and Donnie and everyone felt that same way. So Jim said, hey, we're all going to go out for dinner. George was not feeling well at all, but he was there. So he could barely even walk to the van. So I'd help him, and Jim was helping him to the van. So Jim Mason, George Zengali, myself, and Todd Ryan were in this van. So we start heading off to May Zengali's house to try to talk through this ending, to see if we could come up with something. George was very quiet, and we start driving, and you know, everyone's just kind of calm, and we get into his old neighborhood where George grew up. And he said, Jim, turn here. And he turned, you know, right. And he said, stop. So he pulled over, and I don't know, I know George and I went in, but it was St. Anthony's Church was right there. But he said, take me inside. So we walked slowly inside, and he said, I just want to sit for a minute. So we found him a pew. He sat all by himself, and I sat over there, and he started to kneel just by himself. But I figured it was time for George to have his moment, because he wasn't feeling well at that time in his life. And then it was about 15 minutes. And then he looked over at me and said, come here. And then he goes, I can't get up. So I helped him up, and we walked back out of the church, which he grew up in, I guess. And we walked back to the van, and then we drove just down this little street. And down, you may remember May's house in Jimmer, right on that corner there. And we turned, and then we all went in, and she had eggplant, the whole 9 yards. And Jim Mason was very caring, and Lenny was there. And so we had dinner, and it was great. George was drinking sangria a little bit. He had it all spread out. And we start watching the end of the show on this video screen, old TV, I guess. And we start thinking, drawing things, you know, and the cross, and one cross came in and the other cross came in. And I remember one time he drew the cross, and he literally had tears coming out of his eyes. And then I don't know where it came from, but the birth of the cross happened. Wherever it happened, he said, I think I've got it. And it was just the idea was born. It gives me goosebumps to see that transformation. And this is only a time I've ever told that story. But I love the caring qualities of so many people, of a human being that was in the later stages of their life. And it wasn't about a score. It was about people who all cared. And I couldn't be more proud of being part of the whole design team. But I thought you guys might want to hear the little excerpt of how the seed was actually born from that. I don't know if it was from the Church of St. Anthony's, could have been, but it certainly probably inspired him in certain ways.
Build into the cross. It's a very important statement. It's a statement about life. It's a statement about how much work you've done all year. It's a statement about your beliefs in life and God and you and who you are.
DCI fans!
All of us at Digital Performance Gear are missing drum corps this summer and being in the stands with fans like you.
We can't wait to see our favorite corps take the field again.
DPG is a proud sponsor of Drum Corps International.
But the activity needs your help to keep drum corps available for future generations of performers.
Please donate at www.dci.org/marchon.
Together.
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 We will march on.
In 2012, the Gold Drum and Bugle Corps attended their first ever DCI World Championships. In 2019, they tied with their best ever placement, third. We followed them around Indiana Wesleyan University as well, and here's the look into the Gold's journey into earning a medal in open class.
Number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Subdivide even on the clicks, please. Sand, cat, sand, boot, sand, cat, sand, down. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. There you go, good job. All of the adjustments are really, really nice. You just have to make sure that you think about those before we get there. I think you are capable to make the decision before you begin the exercise, okay? Yeah. Just be a little more proactive, a little more aggressive about those things. Sustain, sustain, sustain. Good, water please, water.
Thank you.
This is the attitude, right? This is the character. This is the rat race. This is, I'm getting that job. Purely off of performance, purely off of my attitude, my character. I'm confident. This is what it is. All right, Golds, check it out. I'm gonna say the same thing and use the same kind of mantra that we've used all year long. You have all of the power in your decision making. Nobody else has that power. None of your competitors have that power, none of your staff has that power. You wield all of the power. You have the ability to be here with us, which means you have a responsibility to put it out on the field in the correct fashion with passion and great performance and good teamwork, because it's about us. That's the most important part. You should care about us only at this very moment. But at the same time, I need you to remember that you have to work together as a team. you have to be proud to wear the gold uniform. You got to get out there like this is our field now. I hope you feel empowered to get out there and make the right decisions. Because when you do, you are fantastic. When you do, you are as good as anybody else. Maybe better.
Performing their 2019 program, Pursuit of Happiness. Drum Corps International is proud to present Go!
My hope is that they take away a sense of service. I firmly believe that we work too hard just to be good when we can work smarter to be great. And that way, every day is an understanding of the kind of culture you want to build and the kind of culture you want to maintain. It's the journey that gets them to that point, which is like the intrinsic journey, which is so much more valuable than the extrinsic. We have an analogy this year where we have a mountain peak. And the peak is dangerous. You don't want to look at the peak all season because then you feel like you might not get there. So it's all about the road leading up to the peak and the stops along the way, and you find yourself making headway to the peak, and the peak is the end of the season. So we love the activity, and I think that's the takeaway for these next few days. I think we have absolutely achieved our goals, and couldn't be more proud of them.
Here at Pearl, we know it takes more than just luck.
And best wishes to make something great on the field.
It takes dedication,
Personal sacrifice.
Commitment to friends and family. Yourself, your core, your craft.
We love the roar of the crowd and the call of the road.
And we all want to be back under the lights as soon as possible.
Now, more than ever, we understand that Drum Corps is a unique lifetime experience.
And we need your help to keep that experience possible for future fans and players.
Please make a donation today to DCI.
Your favorite corps or sound sport team today.
At www.dci.org/marchon.
Together, we will march on. Together, we will march on.
Together, we will march on.
Together we will march on.
Together, we will march on.
Drum Corps has taught me how to persevere and thrive in the face of adversity on and off the field.
Drum Corps taught me to be prepared. You'll be asked to do many things at once, but if you prepare ahead of time, you can succeed when the opportunity presents itself.
Drum Corps taught me to be more compassionate and understanding of other people because everybody has bad days and everybody needs help sometimes when you're doing something as difficult as Drum Corps.
virtual performances, but you know, don't you? What do you miss most about no 2020 season, no finals? For me, it's the goosebumps with the brass lines. Help us make that happen in 2021. If you haven't given yet, here is a rundown of a little bit of payoff for your generosity in addition to helping the cause. The tour contributor, the prelims contributor. Now you get up into the semifinals contributor level at $100. You get the cool collector's item MarchOn t-shirt. $250, we throw in the DCI Squishy Cone in a 2019 World Championship CD set. $500 level, oh yeah, the Blu-rays, that's a nice touch. And the $1,000 level, well, we'll all be participating in a special VIP Zoom call after this telethon finishes up tonight. Speaking with DCI leadership, it'll be Dan Atchison, Kathy Black, our chairman of the board, Stuart Pompel, the member chair and the director of Pacific Crest. You got a question you want to ask? Lay it on us. They'll be ready for it, and we'll give you the straight answer. So that's at the $1,000 level. And it's certainly been most gratifying seeing the different names at the bottom of the screen go by. So we'd like to hear from you. Go ahead, share, like us on Facebook, and help get the word out. And this is going to continue beyond tonight, this fund drive. So we want to get the numbers up tonight before we leave. But get the word out to friends, because there's a lot of work to be done here. This is also the time of year, finals week, when we award scholarships and all kinds of different awards for people who have done outstanding work. So why let a little virus like the COVID get in the way of that? We're going to go ahead and offer up, first of all, the Dr. Bernard Baggs Leadership Award. This recognizes the world-class corps director of the year. It's determined by a vote of all the world-class directors. So this is it's a very important award to whoever wins it because it's recognition from one's peers. And the winner this year, Stuart Pompel of the Pacific Crest Drum and Bugle Corps of Diamond Bar, California. And I can tell you from attending numerous DCI meetings, Stuart has stepped up in a big way as a representative of the entire activity as well. The Dr. David Kamsher Leadership Award is the very same award presented at the open class level. Again, very prestigious as it's selected by one's peers, and the winner is Tim Heasley of the Golden Empire Drum and Bugle Corps of Bakersfield, California. That corps is fast making its mark in the open class. Now tonight with the scholarships, through the generosity of families and friends of Drum Corps International, we're awarding about $13,000 in total scholarships. Little less than what we might normally have, but this is not your normal year, is it? And maybe that number will grow again in 2021. But we do have some scholarships to award, and the Friends of DCI scholarship is at the top of the list. This group has been in existence for more than 30 years, and this award is intended to help members in their return to the classroom after participating in the DCI tour. Virtual, though it may have been this year. The scholarship recipients are Jacobo Herrera of Gold and Shelby Bonar of Jersey Surf. So congratulations to them winning the Friends of DCI scholarships. Created by charter members of the Friends of DCI, Ken and Patty Richardson, the Richardson Scholarship is awarded each year to 2 corps members who wish to earn a degree in music education. And our winners this year, Andrea Cox of the Troopers, Andrew Cox of the Troopers, excuse me, and Andrew Arbuzov of the Bluecoats. Congratulations to them. The In-Step Women of DCI program supports participation of women in all facets of this activity, and they award a scholarship to a current DCI participating female performer, intern, or corps support staff member who aspires to continue working within the drum corps activity into the future. And our winner this year is Lauren Jameson of the Jersey Surf. The Performing Arts Initiative for Students of Color is a nonprofit organization aiming to provide scholarships, leadership training, and educational opportunities for students of color currently participating in performing arts. This year's scholarships are awarded to Bevan Zulu of Phantom Regiment, and to Christopher White of the Blue Knights. As a longtime visual judge and instructor, the late DCI Hall of Fame member Gary Chapinski contributed greatly to innovation and design since the early days of Drum Corps International. Tonight, the Gary Chapinski Memorial Scholarship is awarded to Dawson Burns of Phantom Regiment. Since its inception in 2007, the DCI-sponsored Marching Music Health, Wellness, and Safety Project has succeeded in bringing together healthcare professionals to provide medical guidance to Corps members and staff during the DCI summer tours. This scholarship recognizes a current DCI performer who aspires to work in the health field, and it is awarded this year to Sarah Gallardo of California Gold. Congratulations to all of our scholarship winners, and we wish you a bright future and hope to get you all back out here on the field in 2021. Well, we've heard from her at the beginning of this telecast. I'd like to bring back now our chairman, she's okay with that, chairman of the board, chairwoman of the board, board chair, however you wish to describe Kathy Black. She'll answer to most anything to advance the activity. Kathy, welcome, and thank you for your leadership through this challenging time.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here.
All right, we have some work to do here. Kathy, you have an award to give out yourself, so I cede the stage to you.
Okay, very good. Well, this award I normally give out on the 50-yard line, so I want to tell you that I have my credentials, and I'm looking for the right one for 2020. It's been a challenge. But one of the great things that the chair of Drum Corps International gets to do every year is to give out the George Bonfiglio Award. For those of you who may not know, George Bonfiglio was a DCI founder with the amazing 27th Lancers Drum and Bugle Corps. And he was the first chair of the board of directors for Drum Corps International. And many of you also know that he is the father of Denise Bonfiglio, Hall of Fame member herself, and currently CEO of the Cadets. But because George was the first chair, the current chair gets to give out the award in his name. And this year, we're doing a few things a little differently in Drum Corps, as we all know. And one of the things we're doing is this telethon and asking for donations for Drum Corps International. Whenever you make a charitable contribution, no matter who you are, you're making a bit of a leap of faith that the organization is going to appreciate your gift and they're going to use it wisely to advance the mission of the organization. So this year, I want to recognize our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Wayne Leidy. Wayne, I have watched him for many years while he's been working through the financial issues of DCI. He has helped us survive through recessions and changes of technology and changes of law, and he's seen board members come and go and corps directors come and go, and he is infinitely patient when people ask him questions for the 1,000th time and encourage him to improve in the true Drum Corps way. So he's an amazing contributor to our activity, and I definitely wanted to recognize him this year because of the importance of you knowing that your donation is going to be very well received, protected, and very carefully used to advance the mission. And there's nobody any better than that than Wayne Leidy. So congratulations to Wayne.
Yeah, he'll keep an eye on every dollar, won't he, Kathy?
He certainly will.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, and I understand I'll have a little bit of news about you a little bit later on here. So.
Okay, very good, Steve.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
All right, another thing that happens during championship week is the individual and ensemble competition. That's sponsored by System Blue, and that's something that allows these talented corps members to show off what they have individually and in small groups. Well, like so many other things, we went virtual with it this year, and we have some highlights for you now.
I can hear you but I won't. Some look for trouble, while others don't. There's 1,000 reasons I should go about my day and ignore your whispers, which I teeth, eating, wings, flying, feet, running, swimming, hunting, adaptations, adaptations.
Our activity will deeply feel the loss of its great friend, his warm smile, and his friendly personality, his eagerness to help young people and old, and his dedication to the music that he loves so much. He will be missed by all of us. However, his legacy, the Jimot sound, will be with us for generations to come.
Learning to play an instrument is hard, and even more challenging without the help of a skilled instructor. But many times, finding a qualified teacher can be difficult, whether because of location or finances. Music Professor can help students overcome these obstacles. Our highly skilled and extremely personable instructors guide students through everything from learning the basics of putting the instrument together, to grasping fundamentals of music theory, to becoming truly comfortable and proficient on the instrument. Music Professor also provides the necessary tools to help students become better musicians. All of our plans allow students to study at their own pace and on their own time. No pressure. Music Professor's constantly expanding library will keep students actively engaged. Music Professor can help any student become a confident, able musician.
Take that decrescendo a little bit.
Jesse, ready?
Cool.
And full run, take one.
And we salute those of you who have donated thus far. Our numbers at this point stand as follows. We have 946 supporters, having donated $136,282. Heading toward the finish line for tonight, but this drive shall continue beyond that. But we would like to get that number up a bit before we finish and hand you off to the Flow Show for the after party. Also got some shout outs handed to me here from Tom Ream from our TV crew, sending regards to all. Edward Collins supporting DCI and the Phantom Regiment. Joe Morton, Zephyrus says march on. Mike Litsky, thank you for everything DCI. Can't wait to march on in 2021. Carolina Crown 2006 to 2008 and a DCI music judge. Mark Harris, in memory of all the corps, instructors, volunteers, and members who are no longer with us. And that does speak to the longevity of this activity. DCI's been around now 48 years. We're getting ready to celebrate our 50th. And next year we're going to mark the 100th anniversary of what I do believe, according to Steve Vickers, right, Dan, is the 100th anniversary of the first competitive drum corps gathering, courtesy of the American Legion. So, yeah, there have been a lot of people who walked in our footsteps before us and who have also travailed some pretty hard times to keep the activity going. Going to bring back Dan Potter right now because we have something that he talked to Robert Smith a little bit earlier about, and I have been waiting to see this, Dan. This has intrigued me, this whole concept.
Yeah, this is kind of what we've been building up to here. Before I intro that, Steve, let me just give you a different perspective, because I know you're there at the DCI headquarters. You've got people socially distanced and masked up that are helping you with this broadcast. Let me give you kind of what it's been like here at home, because when I haven't been on camera here, I've gone out of my office, gone into the living room where my wife, Martha, has been watching this. And as the virtual performances would come on, both of us would start crying. You can probably tell I've been crying for a lost season, crying for friends that I'm not going to get to see this year, and kind of having an existential cry about this activity because I'm worried. And just you scratch the surface a little bit and you'll find out that we're all worried about whatever it is. And drum corps is no different. So if you've, like me and Martha, if you've shed tears tonight, if you're able, give $1 for every tear you think you've shed. Give $1 for every memory that you hold dear, that you experienced on the stage that DCI sets for these corps. It's not too late to give tonight and help us raise this total and get us up to 200 or 2,020 contributors this evening, our 2020 goal. You can do it. I know that you love this activity. I don't know what else to do to motivate you to get up to give, but I just wanted to make a pitch. That's what it's been like here at home, Steve. It's been tears, and it's been good tears. So I hope others have had that same experience.
So I appreciate that perspective here. We're a busy little beehive juggling things, but some of the performances cut through even through that. So yeah, watching it at home is a wholly different experience, I'm sure.
Well, let's put a cap on this with, as you said, Robert W. Smith and a whole lot of, in fact, let me scroll back up to all of the DCI personnel and just run through the names again, because this is an amazing project. If you just joined us, if you don't know what we're talking about Together as One. This was spawned by Robert W. Smith and David Starnes and a couple of other gentlemen who had the idea that, we need to provide something to band directors to keep them, I think Robert said, rigorous and relevant during the fall season here as we're affected by the pandemic. So Varsity Spirit, in conjunction with the National Federation of High Schools, United Sound, the College Band Directors National Association, and Drum Corps International, put together as one. And what that is a free, entirely complete, exclusive field show that any band can have for the taking. And what's cool about it is the people who designed this show are the best of Drum Corps International. David Starnes and Robert W. Smith, I've already mentioned. Jay Bocook, Michael Klesch, Richard Saucedo, Paul Rennick, Tom Hannum, Ralph Hardiman, Mike McIntosh, Michael Gaines, Michael Rosales, Daniel Riley, Casey Thompson, Rick Subel and Ben Contreras.
Is that the best you can do?
I mean, if Bill Cook were to put together a drum corps now, if he were alive and could put together a drum corps right now, he might pick that staff right there, wouldn't he? So it's an incredible project, and again, it's free to any school who wants to use it. You can find out more at dci.org. But here is a taste of what that field show is like. It is our virtual Together as One.
Wow, I like that a lot. That's
wow,
special, man.
Yeah, isn't that something else?
What a great group effort.
A gift for music everywhere.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years, they're able to use that. What a great moment.
From some of our finest.
Some of our finest, and thank you, Varsity Performing Arts, for making that happen.
Absolutely. So, we're headed toward the finish line. We're about 35 minutes long, but it's the internet, so we can get away with that. We're just holding up the flow.
We bought more satellite time.
Yes, more satellite time.
Right.
We have some new numbers, and we also have a challenge. How do you want to explain this here?
Well, let's start with this number. That's a nice number, $138,757. Well, the good news about that is that's not all.
We're about to update?
We have another number that adds in YouTube donations as well as Facebook donations, and that total is now $155,986.
Oh, wow. So that was not in there originally. That's great.
And I'm excited to say we're still not finished yet. This fundraiser, as we've been telling you all evening, it continues. And we have a huge challenge from someone that is amazing in our activity. Our board chair, Kathy Black, said that in the next 24 hours, if we can raise up to $10,000 more, she'll match it.
Whoa.
She'll match all 10,000, making that an additional 20,000, which would bring this to 175, which would be an amazing accomplishment. I can't even begin to tell you how overwhelmed I am by the support from everybody, the comments you've been reading tonight. Steve, the work that you've done for us these past couple of days, I'll be your ghost anytime. But
if you didn't see the open, folks, you got to watch it.
Yeah,
We'll
rewind,
put it up
right?
online.
Yeah. But yeah, some actors we really are, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, something else. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and enjoying what we can about today. And as I said earlier in a Facebook page, yeah, there it is, Facebook post. My heart goes out to the performers. We miss you. We look forward to seeing you next year.
Yeah, and we, 973. We can
get that to 1,000 before the night's out.
Yeah,
that we can do.
Go down the street and get Aunt Mary to give $1. I want to see that 2020 become a positive number, for crying out loud.
Absolutely.
That would be a grand thing. We're going to wrap it up here. There is the after party with Flow Marching. Yeah, just going to flip the switch, and there you are. Dan Potter, thanks a bunch. It was a pleasure working with you, Jeff Hardowitz, and the whole crew here.
Outstanding job.
Yeah, boy,
wow. My gosh.
You called the troops together, and in they came, whether they were getting paid or not.
And that's how they are.
Yep.
So grateful.
Great staff here at DCI. Tremendous help. And we thank you for your generosity and your consideration. We thank you for your passion. That's what it takes. That's what this activity is loaded with. That's what keeps us all coming back year after year after year. Spread the word. We're not done. Help us spread the word. We can't guess what the heck is going to be next in these uncertain times, what 2021 is going to bring. The best we can do is plan, be positive, hope for the best. You heard it from Stuart. You heard it from Vicki and other people tonight. We're optimistic in this activity. We're going to pull together, and we're going to get through this together. That's how we do it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for giving. Keep the faith. We're going to get those stadium lights back up again in 2021.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for such a great day, a great several days coming into this, and please keep it coming. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Drum Corps International would like to express our gratitude for your donation to the March On campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.